Welcome, everyone. It is September 3rd, and we are in Hillsborough at the Whitted building for our first business meeting back after our summer break. I am not going to read the public charge to you, but basically what the charge says is we are going to respect everyone in this room. While they're speaking, while they're not speaking, we will do the same with you. And now I am going to ask if we have any additions or changes to the agenda. And I see none. Okay. At our desks, we have additional information for 5A. There's a notice of a meeting. 6B, there is a PowerPoint presentation. There is an email from Commissioner Green about one of the names on one of the applicants for the Climate Committee. And I believe that is it. All right, everyone got that? Great. We're going to start with our arts moment, and Katie Murray is going to come and introduce our artist.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
2019 Piedmont Laureate David Menconi is a music critic and arts reporter, formerly at the Raleigh News and Observer, where he was a staff writer for 28 years. He has also written for Rolling Stone, Billboard, Spin, New York Times, and Salon.com. He has published 3 books with a 4th, A Music History of North Carolina, to be published by University of North Carolina Press in 2020. He is also co-editor. Is my mic working?
It went low. Should be raised again.
Test. Hello? Okay, there we go. He's working on a 4th book, A Music History of North Carolina, to be published by University of North Carolina Press in 2020. He's also co-editor of the American Music Series for University of Texas Press and hosts a weekly radio show about the music of North Carolina, That Old North State Radio Hour on WCLY 95.7 FM. He holds a master's degree in journalism and lives in Raleigh. He's also the voice behind the Orange County Arts Commission's newest monthly blog post called Down on Copperline. These posts debut each month through our e-newsletter and discuss all things past and present related to Orange County music. I invite you to sign up for our e-news and view the posts at artsorange.org.
Welcome.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you for having me. My name is David Menconi, and it has been my honor to serve as the 2019 Piedmont Laureate in the area of creative nonfiction and biography. The laureate's role is to serve as advocate for writing and the arts by example as well as programming. As Katie mentioned, I was the music critic at the News and Observer for 28 years. So I've organized and put on Piedmont Laureate events across the Triangle, hoping to open eyes and ears to all the music history this area has to offer. I've done programs about Durham blues, Piedmont bluegrass, and beach music, among others. In collaboration with local groups, including the Orange County Arts Council, some of the best events we've done this year have been right here in Orange County. We put on a program about the Triangle's history of record labels, from colonial records in the 1950s to Yep Rock and Merge records today at the Carborough Arts Center. I also wrote the town of Carborough's proclamation for Sarah Romweber Day in honor of the recently passed musician. And right here in Hillsborough, a program about blues and gospel music with the Dedicated Men of Zion group drew a standing room only crowd to the Burwell School right around the corner from here. These events have all been very well attended, drawing crowds in the hundreds. We have more programs on the schedule for this fall, including a local author book fair at Orange County Public Library on September 28th. Piedmont Laureate is a terrific program, and it engages people across the Triangle with the arts, inviting them to join in. Next year's laureate will be a writer of plays, musicals, and screenplays. And details on applying for that is at piedmontlaureate.org. I hope they'll be able to count on your continued support.
Thank you. Okay, now we have come to public comments, and I just want to let everyone know how this is going to go. We have 15 people signed up. This is for items that is not on the printed agenda. So if it's on the printed agenda, you need to sign up for that specific item. You have 3 minutes to speak, and we're going to, because we have 15 people, we're going to hold it to 3 minutes. When you hear see the flashing red light and hear the bell, we're going to ask you to stop. So again, this is for things that are not on the printed agenda. Okay? And I'll call two people at a time. If the first person come up, second person get ready. So we have Todd Pickett and Kevin Poole.
Hi, good evening. It's
Good evening.
Todd Puckett. I'm from Rougemont, and I appreciate this time. We'll keep it quick. I'm here to discuss the upcoming discussions on gun ordinances. I just have three considerations that I would like the committee to keep in mind as they move forward. First, on this issue, is it a noise problem or is it a safety problem? If the primary issue is a noise problem, I'm sorry, it's much like a person moving next to the airport and then complaining about jets. If you move to the country, we shoot. If it's a safety issue, I would really like to know what kind of statistics we have. Are houses actually being shot at? Have any been shot, cars damaged, anything along those lines? With that, if it is a safety issue, are there ordinances already on the books that can be implemented and enforced? Gross negligence, some kind of, negligence that endangers others, something to where individuals who are shooting as opposed to the entire community of shooters being displaced or, having anything done. And finally, as, it is a fact, we are seeing more and more people move out into the country, out into, northern counties, southern part of the county. I'd like for the committee to keep in mind, perhaps as we zone things, new developments can start adding a buffer and go from that end to where that makes houses safer, large thickets around, things like that, that could cut down on the noise, and just be a more proactive choice on that as the communities move further and further out into the individual homes. With that, I'll give the rest of my time to the next person.
Thank you, sir. Kevin Poole and then Riley Ruskey.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Kevin Poole. I live in the Caldwell community. I just want to express my opposition to any further ordinances that deal with noise or discharging firearms on private property. I would not want any of those ordinances imposed upon me and my ability to do so. Likewise, I wouldn't want them imposed on any other residents in the county. I do believe that some members of the community may not have the ability to, or the affordability to join a official gun range or shooting range. The cost associated with those can go anywhere up into several hundred, up to over $1,000 a year. I would like to suggest that if such ordinances are put in place by BOCC, that maybe a public shooting range be established and maintained by Orange County that would be free to residents and have plenty of buffer around it and maintain safety procedures, all of that. So again, just want to mainly state my opposition to any further ordinances dealing with shooting or noise. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Riley Ruskey and Louis Scarda.
Good evening. My name is Riley Ruskey, and the citizen's petition is presented under the protection guaranteed by the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States for the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Riley J. Ruskey, a United States citizen and legal resident of Orange County, North Carolina, petitions the Orange County Board of County Commissioners to start every commissioners' meeting with the United States Pledge of Allegiance, and to request all meeting attendees to stand facing the flag, men to remove their hats, and all to place their right hand over their hearts during the recitation of the pledge. Recitation of the pledge supports the Board of County Commissioners' goal and priority to promote an interactive and engaging system of governance that reflects community values. It also has several social justice impacts. One, it reminds the commissioners of their oath of office to support the Constitution and laws of the United States. Two, it reminds our citizens of their civic obligation of allegiance to our nation and the obligation to act within its Constitution and laws. 3, it informs non-citizens of a fundamental responsibility of United States citizenship, thereby helping their assimilation into our society. 4, it serves as a reminder that without allegiance to our republic and a Constitution that serves as its foundation, there can be no social justice. The inclusiveness impact is that reciting the pledge will serve to remind our citizens that we are one republic and one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The petitioner respectfully requests that this action be implemented starting with the very next commissioners' meeting. Should the commissioners deny this petition, petitioner requests that they make a verbal and written public announcement as to why they are denying it. Respectfully submitted, Riley J. Ruskey. And I will deliver this to your clerk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Ruskey, as you know, petitions go, thank you. Mr. Ruskey, as you know from being in our public and coming to some of our meetings, thank you. We take petitions and they go through agenda review, and so you will get, we will have a response. It might not be at the very next meeting. It has to go through a process. So thank you for your petition. Louis Scarda and Diane Guttel. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Louis Squarta. I'm here to discuss the proposed noise ordinance that I know is not on the agenda today. I just want to say I'm not here to represent a political party. I'm here to represent the Constitution of the United States. I'm here to do my duty as a constituent, and I expect you to execute your duty in defense of the Constitution. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was about 7 years old. I was naturalized at 16. After going to college, I served in the Army for 10 years. I defended this country in 2 theaters of war and defended the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I am here to now defend the Constitution against enemies domestic. And when I say that, I mean this ordinance. You have the power to change that, and you have the duty to change that and not infringe on our Second Amendment rights. The Second Amendment is so important, it's part of the Bill of Rights, with the word rights included in that. So by passing this proposed ordinance, you are infringing on all of our rights and therefore the Constitution of the United States. And it's your duty to protect that Constitution, as it's my duty to stand up here and tell you about that. So simply put, I think the noise ordinance is an attack on our Bill of Rights, and that's the foundation and the freedom that our country was built on. And I expect you to make the right choice and not pass that proposed ordinance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask that we hold applause until the end, please, or else we're never going to get through this? Thank you. Diane, excuse me. This is our meeting. We respect everybody in this room. Diane Gittel or Gentle, I'm sorry, I don't know, I can't read your writing, and Wendy Fontek, please.
Good evening. My name is Diane Gentile. I
Gentile.
bet you that's it.
That's it, you're it.
Yes, I'm here to speak about the noise
Thank you.
ordinance. Yes. The noise ordinance concerns me not only for all the reasons that our previous speakers about the ordinance have stated, but I, as a single woman, find myself traveling alone, by myself, and not be able to protect myself unless I take advantage of my rights. What concerns me a lot about this is not only the traditions that are going to be challenged by this in areas that heretofore have been totally viable, but also it will now drive me with impinging restrictions to go out of county, to master and keep my skills at top-notch levels so that I am a safe firearm holder and user when and should it be necessary for me to use it. And the opportunities for me to use it, ma'am, are not only on my rural acreage where I have coyotes and I have rabid raccoons and I have copperhead snakes and I have animals, but also when I go into the streets of
Thank you.
when I go into the streets of Hillsborough by myself and could be followed into the country where nobody will see me or find me. Therefore, don't drive the revenue that comes from all of us and more of us that are not here out of the county. It's not in the best interest of our county, but it is certainly not in the best interest of our citizens, especially us women. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Wendy Fontel and Neil Galloway, or Fontac. I apologize for not saying your name.
Wendy Fontella, Chapel Hill. I'm here to talk about the commissioners' meetings regarding the firearms.
Can you talk
ordinance.
into the microphone,
Sorry,
please?
can
Thank
hear
you.
me? Wendy Fontella, Chapel Hill. I'm here to talk about the commissioners' meetings on firearms ordinances. This citizen's petition is presented under protection guaranteed by the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States for the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I, Wendy Fontella, a United States citizen and legal resident of Orange County, North Carolina, petition the Orange County Board of County Commissioners to conduct all meetings regarding firearm ordinances in whatever form they may be described in open session and to allow public comment. There is no justifiable reason for closed-door meetings or meetings which do not allow public participation and comment when discussing rights guaranteed to all citizens of the United States under the Second Amendment. The Commissioner's commitment to holding open meetings with public comment opportunities when discussing firearm ordinances support the BOCC goal and priority to promote an interactive and engaging system of governance that reflects community values. It also reminds the Commissioners of their oath of office to support the Constitution and laws of the United States. The petitioner respectfully requests this petition be implemented immediately. Should the Commissioners deny this petition, petitioner requests the Commissioners make a verbal and written public announcement within 4 working days from this petition as to why they are denying it. Thank you. I will submit it to the clerk.
Thank you, ma'am. And just like Mr. Ruskey's petition, it goes through the process, through agenda review, and we'll get back to you. Neil Galloway and John Pryor.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Neil Galloway. I've been an Orange County property owner and resident for 30 years. And soon after I bought my property, I built a nice large berm and proceeded to start shooting. There are 2 real considerations with all this discussion about noise ordinance and safety. Safety is a big consideration, and that's where you have the berm, where nothing leaves the property. Courtesy comes down to how long you are shooting and what you are shooting. There's a big difference between a .22 rimfire cartridge and a .223. 3 times the speed of sound makes a sonic boom, and that is big. I've been shooting for 30 years, and no law has told me not to shoot more than an hour and a half and stop, but that's what I do. There's no law that says I can't shoot on Sunday, but I don't. There are courtesy factors that can be spread and made positive among shooters, and I hope shooters respect that. Those are things that can help everyone live with each other. There are sports that I don't relate to. I don't play soccer, but I am a shooter, and I've been a shooter for over 50 years. That's one of the things that I do, mainly with a .22 rimfire rifle. One of my favorite activities is knocking a golf ball off a tee at 50 yards with an open sight rifle. It does build focus. It's good for you. I've introduced a lot of people of many different ages to shooting. There are people who had the impression that, oh, I don't want to do that, that's an awful thing. But at the end of an hour, a totally changed attitude, because people realize that is a useful thing to know how to do. Even if you never do it again, at least you have the experience and you know how to do that. I really can't add to the other speakers. I echo a lot of that. I just wanted to give a little personal insight into that. This is an activity that's important for me and my family, and we want to continue to do so with safety and courtesy. That's all.
Thank you, sir. John Pryor and Lauren Resnick.
Hi, I'm John Pryor, and I've been a resident of Orange County for the past 16 years, for the past 3 in the community of White Cross, where I have 50 acres, and I also enjoy recreational shooting on that property and would oppose any restriction on the ability to discharge a firearm. I would just also like to respectfully suggest to the commissioners that if this issue is something you all feel strongly about, I hope that you will own it in a way that you are unashamed to put it in the newspaper, post it in places where one can purchase a hunting license, so that everyone in the county is aware of the intent of what you want to do. I think at a time of historic levels of distrust in our government, we all want to feel like we are being represented by people who respect the will of those that elect them. So I would just respectfully suggest that you please make it public what your intent is on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lauren Resnick and Chad Resnick.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Lauren Resnick. We live in northern Orange County for 16 years now on 18 acres. My husband and I both shoot on our property. Chad, Super Chad over here, he's trains military and law enforcement, and he shoots in gun competitions. I also shoot in gun competitions and enjoy honing my skills on our property. And I'm also very alone down there on the land, a lot of the time by myself, and I need to be able to defend myself. Per our universal God-given right to self-defense, which everybody in this entire room has, and the world. So I think that, so we all know why we're here. It is basically chipping away at our Second Amendment rights. And last time it was situational aspects of land, and this time it's noise restrictions. I strongly am against any restrictions on our Second Amendment rights shooting on our private property, which we have worked hard for, and I just think that it's a huge impingement on our Second Amendment rights. So I also think that it is unrealistic. I don't think that they could be properly enforced, this type of ordinance. I don't think you could pinpoint the noise properly. I think it would be a waste of time and resources, and I'm just very much against it. So I think that the whole country's actually gotten off the wrong foot about the Second Amendment for decades now because it's been demonized. But what I don't understand, something that I wrote here, is the Second Amendment makes you stronger. It protects you. It's there for protecting our loved ones. Nobody here wants to have their loved ones harmed. It is been handed down to us. It is hard won. It's something we have inherited, and it's our duty to protect it and use it and understand it. And I think there's a fear factor, and there's nothing to be afraid of. Women need to get more involved in shooting. You need to be able to defend yourself. People here in Orange County, everyone, what I want to see is I want to see every American stronger, stronger than they were yesterday, better able to protect themselves than yesterday. Be prepared for that crazy criminal shooter out there in the store so that when you have your concealed carry, you walk into a store, you're not afraid anymore. You're better able to protect yourself, your loved ones, and maybe even strangers. So we're not here for hate. It's all love-driven. It's all passion-driven. It's all about our constitutional Bill of Rights. And that's all we're here for. It's I kind of wrote some other things about it. So, it also, the Second Amendment, it delineates us from the rest of the world. It's the one thing that makes us different from other countries. We're not the Tutsis who have been massacred by the Hutus in Rwanda or other genocides. So God bless America.
Thank you. Chad Resnick and Norman Kirby.
Don't have a red laser.
Thank you.
Just want that. All right. So the question here is going to be, is this about noise or is this about shooting regulations? If this is about being comfortable and intolerable, I want all the protests to stop in Orange County, all the anti-Trump bumper stickers to be removed, especially the ones on Priuses. I want a law passed protecting American flag at all costs. If this is about changing things we don't like, I don't like green hair, rude people, loud talking in restaurants. Personally, I don't like children. Should we regulate all of the above? Where do my rights end and yours begin? That's what I want to know. Okay. If this is about noise concerns, then how about we put blanket decibel ratings on all sorts of things, unlike the ones that we currently have in the general statute. I'd look it up, but I'm on the clock, that are unrealistic and untrue if you understand what sound pressure levels are. Why don't we put them about? If it is about firearm noise, then why don't you guys petition the state to remove suppressors from the NFA Act, thereby allowing them to be purchased the same way a pistol could be purchased through your local gun store? It's unrealistic. I got it. So is this. We're arguing about noise and firearms, but yet I can't go to the great restaurant Antonio's, wherever it is, with my mother and my wife without being accosted by a beggar on the way out. I think we have other more pressing issues. The concern is noise in rural areas, but we have all of the protesters proliferating through downtown Hillsborough. What's the difference between them exercising their First Amendment rights and me being on my property, shooting away from people in a safe manner, doing the best thing I can to keep everybody safe, and honing my skill set? Okay, what's the difference? If you limit the amount that I am able to shoot and things that I'm able to do, what happens if I'm involved in an altercation in which I need to use my firearm? And what happens if I don't do that very well and a bystander gets hurt? Does Orange County end up becoming culpable? Is there some liability that passes off because you restricted my ability to hone my skills and become better and proficient with said item? In my opinion, we probably have the best law enforcement agency in the state. The Sheriff's Department in Orange County is freaking amazing. The sheriff does a great job. All of the officers care about it, all of the stuff. Can you imagine what you're now going to ask of them? So now he's at my house 20 minutes away. He's down there dealing because someone called and complained that someone's shooting, and now there's somebody over here that ends up getting a phone call because they're being robbed, raped, murdered, assaulted, anything of the above, and he's out there waiting for me as I'm shooting on my property in a safe way. Next, how are you going to prove it? I'm shooting at the back of my property. You're going to send an officer down there, walk down to where I'm shooting while I'm shooting? Doesn't make much sense. We don't have the budget for all this training. I'm not against common sense noise regulations, but it's just like having people who've never been shot at, never been in the line of fire, judging our law enforcement officers when they're forced to make a shot. If you guys are going to pass common, like gun stuff, you're going to have to get gun people involved, people that do that.
Thank you, Mr. Resnick. Norman Kirby and Dwayne Mitchell. Norman Kirby, would you like to speak? Come to the microphone, please. Thank you, sir. You have to speak into the microphone.
I've ever had to do to come up here and say that for you to tell me I can't shoot a gun on my property, that is unreasonable. And if you gotta have 90 acres, how many people in here own 90 damn acres? Huh? And a 30-foot berm? I'm giving my time up to anybody that'd like to come up here and say something.
We have a sign-up sheet, sir. If you're done speaking, we can move on to the next.
I am
person.
done speaking, but we're gonna see who the voters are.
Thank you, sir.
We can vote you out, you know.
Thank you, sir. Dwayne Mitchell and James Mirror.
How you doing?
Welcome.
I'm Dwayne Mitchell. I live at 615 Council Lane. And on the reason that you guys probably getting all the phone calls, we shoot, I also have a berm, a 40-foot berm that I built around a 10-acre lot. We shoot every Thursday. We have an instructor to help us shoot. We train our kids, our nephews, and our children to shoot. You know, I don't think it's fair if you try to take our rights away to shoot. You know, we do everything that we do in a safe manner. Orange County comes out every single Thursday to see how we shoot, see how the range is set up, and we abide by the rules and the regulations of Orange County. And I feel like if you don't know the rules and regulations of Orange County before you move here, then it shouldn't be an issue. Because we respect the issue, we respect our issue of shooting, so do our peers, whoever shoot with us. So I don't think it's a good idea for you guys to try to, I'm opposed to it. I don't think you guys should try to change the law.
Thank you, sir. We have James Mirror and Gary Clark. Welcome.
How you doing? My name is James Minor. I'm a military veteran. I moved to Chapel Hill when I was about 14 years old, and my dad gave me a .22. My cousins, they had .22s. We all would go in the woods and we would shoot. I got out of high school, I went to the military, got better with shooting. I came home, I still shoot. I have 3 shotguns. I have an AR-15, I have a Glock 40, I have a .357. My wife has a .380. She has a 9mm. She also has a 12-gauge shotgun, and she has a .25. I have a daughter who I want to train to shoot. And like someone said, we all can't afford to go to a gun range. I just looked up Triangle Shooter Academy. I used to go there. It's $20 every time you go. We shoot every week where I shoot. Add 20 up by 52. For me to have my family go to Triangle Shooting Academy, that's $600 just for me and my spouse. Everyone after that is an extra $100. Everybody can't afford that, on top of buying bullets and your guns. So we moved to the country so that we can do these kinds of things, so we can ride four-wheelers, shoot guns, make all the noise we want without any problems. That's the whole point of us being in the country, because we like the country life. We like to hunt, we like to fish, we like to shoot guns. And like we say, as long as we're doing it in a safe manner and we're not hurting anybody, what is the problem? If you don't like the noise, stay in the city.
Larry Clark and Wayne Mitchell. Larry Clark, Wayne Mitchell. Wayne Mitchell?
How you guys doing?
Welcome.
I didn't get a chance to make it to the meeting last month. Again, my brother and family members really are the reasons why we're here, because we were shooting a lot. We used to shoot every day of the week, but then people started complaining about it. So we cut back and started shooting once a week, which was every Thursday. Out of respect for others, because we know when we talked to them, they told us that they didn't want us to shoot because it was too noisy. But the guys that we talked to was from out of the country and out of state, and they were Northerners. So a lot of times they wasn't used to the firearms. So out of respect for them, we cut back a little bit. And when Orange County used to come out and they used to inspect what we were shooting at, where we were shooting, we're not near schools or anything like that. We're not near houses. We have berms that are 20, 25, 15 feet high. We tried to comply with the rules and regulations of Orange County. Every time an officer came out, they couldn't do anything because we were all shooting in a safe manner. So I think it's wrong if you guys take our rights away from us. You're slowly chipping away, and I don't agree with it, and most of the people here don't either. But I just wanted to touch base and talk to you guys a little bit about how I felt about it. I had a speech, but I don't really have much time. But I would really appreciate if you guys consider not changing the ordinance, and let us continue to do it in a safe manner, because we are teaching kids and we are teaching our families how to be safe and how to use a firearm properly. But thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's the last speaker. Would anyone else like to speak on this issue? It's things that are not on the printed agenda? Hang on. Things that are not on the printed agenda. You want to speak? Yes. Okay, thank you. Come on up and tell us your name, please.
Hi, my name is Regina Merritt. I'm sorry, I was running trying to get here. I just left another meeting.
No problem.
But I'm the mother of the boys that they're complaining about with the guns. And I want to speak a little bit about that. I haven't been to a hearing because I've always been in meetings and I didn't find out about it until late. But I heard people say they've been in council in the neighborhood for 15 years, 30 years, whatever. But I've been in that neighborhood over 60 years. And my family been in that neighborhood over 100 years. My grandfather built the church in that neighborhood. And so we've been having activities going out there for years. There's no trouble. We've never had a problem. The problem that I have now is the people that's complaining not once came to us and asked us about or never voiced their concerns about what was going on. They came directly to you all, which I think was really wrong. My boys have because of all this is going on, they'll cut their days back from whenever they want to shoot to just on Thursday nights. And I don't think it's fair for people that know what's been going on in that neighborhood to all of a sudden start complaining about what's been going on when we've been doing this stuff ever since I've been in the neighborhood. So I'd like for y'all to consider it. My grandfather built that church. The church is not far from where we live, but there are berms all around the neighborhood. There's no chance of anybody getting hurt. As a matter of fact, we had one guy from behind us He's the only one that I'm aware of that came out to look at the property. And when he looked at it, he saw there's no chance that anybody can get hurt because the berm is taller, much taller than any of us. So I want y'all to consider, and I invited y'all through a letter to come and look at the property yourself. You will see that nobody can get hurt. And I don't think, and I'm hoping you all will consider the fact that because we've been doing this and we've lived in this neighborhood before anybody in Robbinswood, I want y'all to consider us as when y'all making y'all decision and let us be a part of it. Don't just stop our children. My boys have never been in trouble. They don't have any criminal records. They're doing what they enjoy doing without hurting anybody. So I want y'all to consider that. And I still invite anybody in Robbinswood who have a concern to come out there and look at it and not just ride up and down the road. If they come out there and look at what we have going on, they can see for themselves that there's no way that anybody can get hurt. So I really want the commissioners to come out and look at the property before y'all make a decision and see there's absolutely no chance. The sheriff come out there almost every time they shoot. They come out there and they see what's going on. It's no way that anybody can get hurt. So I want y'all to consider that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Do you want to speak? Tell us your name.
Carol Edmonds, and I live in the
Speak
county.
into the mic, please. Speak into the mic, please.
Oh, I live in the county, but the neighborhood I'm in is a very dense neighborhood. I've got neighbors 30 feet on this side, 30 feet on that side, and there's about 100 houses in my neighborhood. And there is a lot of shooting that goes on in my neighborhood. And, evenings, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, semi-automatics. And holidays with the fireworks, and people have, shortly after the fireworks, there's guns going off. And I'm really scared to go out, and with the other neighbors, to watch the fireworks. So I understand that there's a big difference between somebody having a huge amount of land, but I'm all for any regulation of the dense neighborhoods like mine having some sort of ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? I'm sorry?
What was her neighborhood, ma'am? What's your neighborhood?
Okay, excuse me. We are respecting everybody in this room, please.
My name's Gary Clark. I'm an Orange County resident. The average overpass on the interstate is 13 feet, 10 inches tall. You want us to build a berm that's 30 feet tall, so 3 times the height of an overpass, and my contractor friends of mine tell me that would cost between $5,000 and $7,000 to put that amount of dirt. My lawyer tells me that that would be a nuisance, that I would have to put a fence around just like you would a pool, an attractive nuisance. So I would have to fence it, I would have to build it, it would cost me a lot of money. And I think the salient thing here is James Madison, who wrote the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, did it in a very methodical manner. In other words, he wrote what he thought was most important first and what he thought was second most important second. And his interpretation in the Federalist Papers, which is a book that he wrote interpreting the first 10 amendments, stated that a well-regulated militia meant that the militia would have a caliber of the same caliber as the military so they could resupply us, because half of the forces that we fought the British with was militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. What that means is the people are not subjugated by the politician, but the politician is subjugated by the people. We have control of the politician. The right of the people The same people in the First Amendment where it says the right of the people to assemble peaceably for redress of grievances. Where in the Fourth Amendment it says the right of the people to be secure in their homes, persons, papers, et cetera, et cetera. The Ninth and the 10th Amendment say the people. We are the people, okay? To keep and bear arms means I get to own it, and to bear it means I get to use it. Shall not be infringed. Ask any fifth grade child and he would tell you, I think that means mind your own business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There was one last person that wanted to speak. Please, sir. Tell us your name.
My name is Stanley Washburn.
You got to do it in the microphone so we have a record of it, sir.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Stanley Washburn. I, too, am from rural Orange County. First and foremost, I think a lot of this should be decided between neighbors. Living in the country, having good neighbors, talking to your neighbors, and is the way to go. I don't think y'all need to be involved in this.
Waste of time.
Secondly, I'm about to forget, I'm nervous as a cat.
Don't be nervous. You're doing a fine job. Forget about second, go to third.
Okay, I got you, I'll skip. The response time, and I have the utmost respect for the Orange County Sheriff's Department. They've been involved with my family more times than I'd like. But, and not on my account, just so you know. But their response time in getting out to the country, they do the best they can, but if you're in harm's way, by the time they get there, it might be too late. And in order to be proficient and be able to use and know the capabilities of any kind of weapon, you need to be able to practice. And that should be a right that you have on your own property at any given time, you know, aside from being unreasonable. That's the thing I'm talking about, neighbors. If you have a problem with your neighbor, by God, go talk to him. Don't sit there and involve other people. But I can't believe we're here. This is a right that I fought with a rifle in my hand against foreign enemies so that we could keep these rights. And to involve y'all I'm ashamed. I thoroughly am ashamed because it shouldn't be any problem. If you want to live in the city and there should be city ordinances, I understand the danger, I understand the noise, I respect that, and I'd respect somebody if they come and talk to me. But the reason a lot of us are living in the country is because we want to be out there by ourselves and we want to be able to do a little bit more than what they do and what they're regulated to do in the city. I appreciate you all's time. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for coming. That was the last one. We have an hour time. That's it. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. He's going to be the last one then, okay? Then we're done. Because if you read the agenda, it says limited to an hour, okay? Thank you, sir.
My name's Steve Kirby.
Steve Kirby.
This is an important issue.
Thank you.
Wally's my neighbor. Thanks for not complaining about my shooting, Wally. Come up and shoot with me anytime. We all know this is a backdoor approach to the Second Amendment and you guys attacking it. That's, but the thing is, and everybody spoke to this, we need to be able to protect ourselves. And we've got an issue in this county and the surrounding counties. Durham, and I'm sure some of you saw this last week, released 53% of felons that had guns voluntarily, released them back out into the public. We don't have a gun problem. We've got a prosecution problem.
Commissioners, how do we feel about sticking to the hour limit?
We did start late. We started.
Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay. Well, come on up. Please tell us your name and to the microphone.
My name is Jennifer Woods, and I live in northern Orange County on 20 acres. My husband and I got together, and we each had children. separately before we got together. I've heard a lot of people speaking about rights and protection, but the one thing I haven't heard anybody speak about is what we can do with these guns. We own several weapons, and we hunt religiously. We've got 7 children to feed. I don't go to social services and get money to do that. We store our deer, our turkeys in the basement. We do our own chickens on our property, and we feed our children with our own hands and bullets. And to have that taken away would be detrimental to my children.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't see any more hands. Okay, y'all, thank you so much. We're going to move on with the rest of the meeting. We'll take all of your comments into consideration. Everything that we do here is on tape, so we can go back and listen to those comments. We will be having a work session on September 10th. We do not have a proposed ordinance yet. We don't even know if we will propose an ordinance. We are having a work session to discuss this.
Madam Chair.
Comment, yes.
I'd like for you to address the petition about the closed meetings right now, because I think we need to dispel the notion that we ever had a closed meeting about this issue.
Right, and we did not. So the fact that something is put on Facebook does not mean that it happened. Facebook is social media, it's not fact. We do not have a closed session about any ordinance that relates to guns, firearm safety, or noise. As a matter of fact, I don't even know that we can have those discussions in closed session. Mr. Attorney, do you want to weigh in on that?
That's correct. North Carolina law limits closed sessions to very specific purposes: personnel, economic development, which is what we had earlier. There is no lawful way to have a closed-door, closed session meeting about any ordinance, including any firearms ordinance.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We're going to move to announcements, petitions, and comments by board members, and let's start down to my right with Commissioner Bedford. What? Yeah.
Well, I can go ahead as folks are leaving, because it really won't matter
Why don't you
now.
wait?
Okay. Okay.
There's a North Carolina General Statute 14-40, which is a preemptive law about a gun, and it's not noises, but it's businesses. So the restriction is.
Okay, Commissioner Bedford, please.
All right. I wanted to let folks know that today the North Carolina.
Folks, can you please leave a little could you leave a little bit quieter so we can continue with our meeting?
Okay.
Yeah. You need
I'll
to
talk louder.
Thank you.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services announced that, we are a pilot county for the first phase of Medicaid changes. We will be delayed from that November 1st implementation because there is no state budget into February, so that all 100 counties will be stepping off on February. There still will continue with enrollment, open enrollment. It'll just be extended so that we don't want our residents who will be part of that first phase to be confused. They have opportunities to meet with a consultant who can help direct them as to which group they might want to sign up with as a provider. But in the meantime, they can go to their same private providers that wherever they usually go, and the state will be paying those under the old rules and policies and will just be delayed.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir?
Yes, I spent most of the last 20 days in northern Canada and central Alaska, thankfully out of cell phone range. But for about the last week, every time I got close to a town where I had cell phone service, I started getting calls from people concerned over the conversation that occurred just now. And I quickly realized that there was quite a bit of confusion about when and what was being proposed. And that is on us, because evidently we didn't do a very good job of letting folks know that there would be nothing on tonight's agenda, and there would be a presentation by our attorney on the 10th. as to what is and is not possible as I understand what's to happen on the 10th. Therefore, I'm going to make two petitions. One, that the rule of no public comment at work sessions be suspended for the September 10th meeting in order that after the presentation by the attorney and/or before or after our discussion, that the public can weigh in to what they've heard. That way, this comment and concern over closed meetings can be put to sleep. The second petition is that before any formal decisions are made on any shooting or firearms regulations, a formal public hearing be held prior to those discussions/decisions by at least 2 weeks. So that's my two petitions.
So can I just make a comment? Maybe because you were out of range, we did actually put something up on the website that explained exactly what was going on with both meetings. But I know you didn't have internet service, so that you might not have seen that. We did start getting, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. We started getting emails early on, and I worked with Todd. We made a statement. We had it checked by the attorney, and it did go on there. So we did explain what was going on and when those agendas were going to drop and when they would be available to everyone. As far as the public comment after the work session, I'm going to ask the attorney about that, to weigh in on that.
Well, that's certainly, that's a board rule, and so the board could repeal that or change it, suspend it, whatever the board decides. I think that's preliminary and wouldn't recommend that in this case because you'll have a huge crowd of people again showing up. And as tonight, they're going to be showing up for reasons that aren't even going to be discussed. To clarify what the board asked for, and if I had known this was going to be the reaction, I would have put this on tonight's agenda as a report because it's not a decision item. Having a public hearing on it is fine, and that would probably be a good thing to do is have a public hearing before any decisions made. But what the board asked for was a question. Asked me to look at can the county regulate discharge of firearms in high-density residential areas. And so that's what I looked at, and planning staff prepared a map that I don't have to put up tonight. I wish I could have put that up so people could see. Even on the example, and the map is an example, not a proposal. It's based on a density of 10 housing units per 10-acre grid parcel in Orange County, and there are hundreds of grid parcels. So this would only apply, the example would only apply, if the board decides it wants to pursue this, would only apply near the towns and in a couple of donut holes west of Chapel Hill. So only Mebane, outside Mebane, Eflin, Hillsborough, nothing in northern Orange County. For the most part, nothing in southwest Orange County, but just areas close to the municipal areas that have been built up and, have a house 20 feet from the next house or 10 feet or more. They're going to be very dense areas. And it's, again, just an example. So I think for the work session, I think that's preliminary because people are going to come out predisposed and set in positions against anything without realizing, hey, this doesn't impact me. But certainly a public hearing later, if the board decides to go forward with this, is probably a good thing and would encourage public participation.
Ms. Manager,
just
do
my
you want to weigh
viewpoint.
in on that as well?
Pardon?
Do you want to weigh in on that as well?
I would just echo what John said. I think that the board should let the county residents know what their intentions are for a decision. Because, like he said, tonight a lot of people came out about issues that aren't really even going to be considered or aren't under consideration. So that's just our feeling about whether we do that. But as he also said, it's your rule. You can waive it. You can suspend it, however you feel.
you want to speak on that?
I'm going to let my petition stand. I think that to not allow public discussion on any high interest or controversial issue just fans a fire of that this board may or may, and we're not hiding anything, I'll just be explicit about that. But whether it takes 5 minutes or 5 hours, any high interest, controversial subject should have public participation.
Well, wouldn't the public hearing allow that?
Of course it would, but I doubt that we're going to have 5 people or 10 people speak at that work session. But to have it available to folks that want to speak after they hear the presentation, they can give us immediate input, and then that can be brought back. A formal public hearing can be brought forth with a formal proposal, and they can speak again. Something like this, to limit the input of the citizens, regardless of what that input is, and regardless of what the issue is, creates distrust. This should be a totally open discussion, no holds barred, both sides weighing in, and have a discussion and not limit it. I mean, had we shut down discussion tonight because of our limitation, you would have immediately heard me object. Because whether we sit here, we get paid to do this, they don't. And whether we sit here 5 minutes or 5 hours, I think we're obligated to listen. And I think we're obligated to listen regardless of whether we want to hear it or whether we're in total agreement with it. So I'm going to let my petition stand.
Okay.
Well, I just want to acknowledge this is our first meeting back since our limited summer break, limited because we did meet through the end of June. And so a lot of things happened in the meantime, and one of which was quite distressing, I know, to a number of us, and that was when a woman who had dementia wandered out of her house and was not found, and not found for days. But I want to just remember that and give some special thanks to Kirby Saunders, our director of what's his emergency management. And I know he did not do this alone. He had an army of thousands, or at least 300, helping him. And fortunately, it had a happy ending when the woman, Mrs. Roseman, was found alive in a ditch. I think she did go to the hospital. I would like to know if she's okay, but that's just really wonderful. And I do note that WCHL honored Kirby as their hometown hero just today. So that's congratulations to Kirby for that. And that's just a wonderful good news story that I wanted to hold up.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Price.
Okay, so during the summer, I did go to a couple of conferences. One was the NACO annual conference, and one of the things just to bring back is that federal funding for the arts is at an all-time high for this, well, relative, this time period, and support for public art. And I just wanted, I know Katie Murray has left, but to maybe encourage the Orange County Arts Commission to also look at more public art and how that can help with just generating more activity and creative placemaking for Orange County, and also outdoor recreation. We looked at several examples of how that is a moneymaker. It's being used for economic development purposes. I also attended the State Association Annual Conference, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and just wanted to give a shout out to our youth representative, Camille Clark, who had interviewed Sally Green, and their picture was up on the screen. And just to say that, you know, this is a wonderful program for our young people, and they get to learn what goes on in county government. And I think that our Jonathan Smith, our 4-H director, is doing a wonderful job. And Camille actually has also just been elected as the president of our Orange County 4-H. Then coming a little more local, the Orange County Board of Elections is proposing new precinct boundaries. It's really common sense, like putting all of the dorms at UNC into one precinct instead of, being across the street, you're in another precinct. There are some other issues that I think people should pay attention to, for example, in Eflin and Cheeks, where neighborhoods might be divided. So please take a look at that and send your comments to the Board of Elections. And I believe everything is online so people can see where they may be shifting. And lastly, just personal privilege. The Orange County Community Remembrance Coalition is hosting Just Another Lynching on September 9th at the Chapel Hill Public Library, and then at the Passmore Center on the 14th. There'll be a program on Blacks in World War I, the Red Summer of 1919, and the Paris Pan-African Congress with special speakers from Duke University and NCCU.
Commissioner Markopoulos?
So I want to let people know of a few things that are being planned from the Go Triangle end of the transportation planning in 2019 and this last part of 2019. So there's an important new bus stop being added down right near Carolina or Chapel Hill North. The 420 bus goes from Hillsborough down there and then on to Chapel Hill and Carborough. And it's been hard for people to make the transfer to the CRX bus going to Raleigh. And there's going to be a station there so people can easily go from Hillsborough down there several times during the day and then head to Raleigh. Commuter rail is in the very beginning stages of being studied and negotiated about representing Orange County on the negotiating team from Go Triangle with the railroad, with North Carolina Railroad. And there's a lot of issues there. It's going to take a while to figure it out, but just want to let you know that it has begun, and there's serious consideration being given to not just the Raleigh to Durham route, but going out to Hillsborough and then on to Mebane on the west side, and on the east side going to Selma in Johnson County. There's pretty much consensus that if we're going to do it, we should make that route longer instead of delaying those those extensions at the ends. And then the Hillsborough Park and Ride is slated for, a serious work in 2019, hopefully be done in the next year or so, somewhere on 70, still looking for the land. And there are several bus stops that are in the design stages, 4 of them in Hillsborough, shared with Orange County Public Transportation. And design will be starting soon on 6 other stops, 5 with Chapel Hill Transit and another with Orange County Public Transportation. So things are happening to improve our transportation system. I want to make a petition that was brought to mind by one of the things on the consent agenda that I'm not going to pull it, but there's an agenda item about the electric vehicle charging stations and a grant that we're going to get, which will be great to get some new charging stations and replace some old ones. And at a future meeting, would like to hear a report on how these old ones worked, why are they being replaced, what the new ones do that's better. I think it's important that we understand sort of this emerging technology and how we deal with purchasing new technology and what we can learn from this experience. And also, there's going to be a solar charging station, and would like to hear about what locations are being considered. I think it'd be really great to have a very publicly accessible, viewable location there. Then I want to say that I'm very proud of the rally that happened in Hillsborough on Saturday. 800 to 1,000 people showed up peaceably, demonstrated that Hillsborough and Orange County is an inclusive community and isn't going to stand for hateful messages being delivered here. And it was a remarkable event, and I applaud the organizers for organizing it and having such a peaceful event result. And in terms of the work session, 2 things. I want as much public comment as we can possibly get on all the issues. I also want to go to a work session and work. We need those work sessions to focus on the issues amongst ourselves. we always allow for public comment on policies that we're about to consider. So the two are not incompatible. You can have all the public comment in the world that you want and still keep the work sessions for the work that needs to be done. As a matter of fact, we don't really have enough work sessions. I don't think we should be eating into that time for something that we can accomplish at another meeting. Thanks.
We're going to come back to that in a second. I already passed a note to Commissioner McKee, so let me just get through my 3 or 4 things real quick. I got a letter from the governor. I don't know if everybody got the email about why he did not pass the budget, and I'll pass this around for everyone to read, but as we all know, we know the reasons why, but it was nice that he did send that to us. I just want to give the staff a really big thank you. They've worked really hard this summer. I don't think that they actually had a break this summer. We've been working on economic development all summer. I've been up here a lot, spending a lot of time, and I know everyone worked really, really hard. So I hope that y'all got a little bit of break in there, but I know that when I was up here, you all were up here, so thank you for that. Donna also gave us a draft calendar. It's in this packet here for you all to look at and comment on. We think we did what we could to, make it as best as possible to not hit holidays and all that stuff. So that should be there as well. Donna and I are also working on updating rules of procedure. Last time it was updated was 2016. So we're just going to go through that and make sure that nothing has changed. And we're going to put out another sort of book like this that is about a commissioner's handbook. So we can have that. I know you all just went through your orientation, but you don't have a handbook to go with that. So we're going to work on that, and we'll bring that back hopefully before the end of the year for everyone to take a look at and make changes and comments to. I just want to read what Rachel Raper sent us from the Board of Elections. As Commissioner Price stated, the original county, the Orange County Board of Elections is considering requesting changes to several precincts to improve election day operations for Orange County voters while optimizing the use of public resources. These proposed changes are detailed online on the elections webpage, and the public is invited to leave online comments through noon on September 6th. The board, meaning the Board of Elections Board, will meet on Monday, September 9th at 4:30 at election headquarters to determine the changes, if any, to the recommended to the State Board of Elections. Any recommended changes would have to be approved by the State Board of Elections and would become effective January 1st, 2020. So if you go on and you want to take a look at the precinct changes and you have comments, please go on and make those comments before September 6th. And that is going to be it. I've went to a lot of meetings this summer, but we can catch up on that another time. I'd like to go back to Commissioner McKee's petition and visit that, because if we are going to make a change, I think it's important to do it tonight, even though we don't normally vote on petitions the same night that we get the petition. But if we are going to make a change, I think it needs to be, everybody in the public needs to know it, not just the people that might have been here listening. With the comments from the attorney and the manager, I'd like to just hear from everybody how they feel about this before we go ahead and take a vote, if that's okay with you, Commissioner McKee.
We'll hear the comments, and then I'll have a motion.
Yep. Commissioner Green.
I appreciate the thought. I think it is a very emotional issue for a lot of folks that and the last thing I would want to do is have somebody not think they were heard. I also appreciate what Commissioner Mercopoulos says about work sessions being a time for us in an uninterrupted way to really sort of work through an issue, whatever's before us. And I also agree we don't have enough work sessions. I think we need to do that more often. So I'm going to suggest an idea that came upon a board in another jurisdiction. And that board had a very similarly big community issue that a lot of folks had opinions about. And so what that board decided to do, not for every work session, but just for ones when they felt like there was overwhelming need for people to be heard, was that board had 10 minutes set aside at the beginning of the work session and 10 minutes set aside at the end of the work session for people to speak. And that was all, 10 minutes. But it left time, that uninterrupted time in the middle for the board to talk amongst themselves and get their work done. So I'm going to suggest that as an alternative that we might consider.
Commissioner Bedford? Thoughts?
Pass.
Pass. Commissioner Price?
I'm leaning towards a hybrid. I do think that it kind of stifles the conversation. Well, it stifles the entire discussion. There is no discussion if we, if residents come to us, as they did tonight at one meeting, we discuss it at another, and then there's a public hearing at yet another meeting. And it's rather disjointed. So I like Commissioner Green's idea, and I believe actually Commissioner McKee was saying also that we could talk, have our meeting uninterrupted, and then at the end, allow people to weigh in or to react to what they've heard from us. I could go along with what you said as well, with before and after, but I would be inclined to suspend the rules in a situation as this, particularly since we've heard so much already that people want to engage with us on, to have a conversation.
Commissioner Bedford?
So in thinking and listening, the school board, the way they do their agendas is a little bit different, so that most items come on a work session. There's a presentation. The public can speak either at the start of the meeting during public comment or after the board discusses after the presentation, and then there's an opportunity. They can't speak both times, and they've recently changed that. I don't think that we should be put in the position of changing the rules whether we think it's controversial or not. I think it should be we're doing it one way or we're doing it the other way, or a third way. That it's routine, because I can't predict what is at the heart of other people and what might set them want to have a time and opportunity to speak at a work session. So with 1 week's notice, and given what John said, I would not support that now, but I think at our retreat or perhaps earlier, we're going to be talking about budget amendments and timing, and it's sort of a process thing. You're working on that booklet, that's a bigger topic for us, just how do we want to run our meetings. But I wouldn't do it I don't want to decide, sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. I think that's more difficult.
So I'm going to agree with Commissioner Markopoulos. My concern is that when you open discussion before and after work session, that people possibly would come and talk about things that we're not talking about at the work session. And that's kind of what happened here tonight. There was a Facebook post that people thought that we were talking about the entire county. They didn't understand that we were talking about dense neighborhoods. And I'd say about 85% to 95% of what we heard tonight is not even about what the issue we're going to be discussing on September 10th. And so, maybe we need to be clearer about what we're discussing, and I think that was the first thing that Commissioner McKee said. But I agree with Commissioner Markopoulos. We don't have enough time for our work session, so I would like to keep work sessions as work sessions, and then I'm all for having a public hearing, which we would do anyway if there was an ordinance change. That's not anything unusual for us. I think this got twisted because what was put out on social media became the fact, and it wasn't. And I don't know that there's any way to stop that, because social media is opinions, it's not fact. And I honestly, if there's not an item attached to it, or if it doesn't come from our information, a person, I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop people from thinking that we're in closed session, that we're discussing things behind closed doors, that we're making up new rules without input. So I am not going to vote for changing the work session. I like Commissioner Bedford's idea, if we do want to change the work sessions in the future, that we need to have a full-out discussion about it. But we have a policy that we don't have comment at work sessions, and I'm going to stick to that. So Commissioner McKee, so
you've got,
floor is yours.
more
Oh, I'm
comments.
sorry, there's more
Yeah,
comment.
wait a minute, did you wait?
You
Go ahead.
did, or
Go ahead,
Janice
no,
to
go.
weigh in?
Go ahead, Commissioner
Okay.
Price.
I'm going.
I know, I was saying that you go first before Mark.
So, just a point of clarification, I think that people did speak about noise, which was what was put out in the public, that we would be discussing noise. There were some comments about, taking away rights. I know that wasn't true. But I think most people did hear and heard correctly or read correctly that we were discussing noise. And several people, because I've written it down, a number of people were talking about the issue of noise. Is it noise? Is it safety? So I think we have to, I would say that they were, for the most part, trying to address the issue at hand.
Commissioner Markopoulos.
Real quick on the hybrid issue, I appreciate the impulse to compromise and find a third way there, but I think it's confusing and it's limiting. I think if the public understands that we're going to have public comment, as we always have at public meetings, then they know that's when to look for the public comment. Not to confuse, you'd confuse the issue by having these little 10-minute pieces where only a couple of people could talk, right? People would be thinking, well, should I go to that meeting and hear, 20 minutes of commentary when, there's an hour's worth that wants to be said? I think we need to stick with what's been working. It gives everyone ample opportunity at the right time when the policy has been formulated and understood, and they can come and talk at a public meeting.
Commissioner Green.
Well, it is true and should be pointed out that all work sessions are public. Just as we were saying, none of our meetings are behind closed doors on things like this. So perhaps just today, now I'm thinking, because of what you said about the issues not being clarified, if we had, now I'm willing to consider limiting the public comment and perhaps at all work sessions to after our, at the end, where after people already understand what we've been discussing. But if that's not the will of everyone else, I would just point out that I would emphasize that these are open meetings, that people are welcome to come, pay very close attention, take notes, and then as soon as it's over, email us with your thoughts. So that's, that may be the clearest way to just keep the rules straight for now.
Commissioner McKee, thoughts and
Yes. First of all, there is absolutely no way we can or will ever be able to control what happens on social media. Social media takes a life of its own. The story goes in whatever direction it's spun, and we can't control that and really shouldn't be all that concerned about it other than trying to put out the correct and timely information. My intent with my petition is to address some concerns that I've been hearing for the last week, all the way up to 5 minutes before I got to this meeting tonight, of what is going on. Now, you're correct, because I did yesterday actually go to the website and pull it up and read what was going on. But most folks didn't. Most folks got information either third hand, the gentleman that called me on the way here tonight, social media, or however they got it. They did not have a clear understanding of what, when, and where. My sole intent for petitioning to allow public comment on the 10th, and I'll mention that I've sat on this board 9 years, in a time that I think we would have had anyone wanting to make public comment at a work session could be counted on one hand. I don't remember anything other than gun regulations and maybe
The community
animal
center. The community
issues
center.
that,
babies, animals, and guns.
yes, babies, animals, and guns, that anybody gets misinformation, the correct information, and gets stirred up to the point that they want to be heard. I think that we, as elected officials, serve at the will of the people, irregardless of whether we don't get elected, whether we can get elected till we're 150 years old, that's irrelevant. We should listen to the people if they want to speak, irregardless if it is a hot button issue. And this is a hot button issue, and it's not going to turn into a cool, rational discussion. It's going to stay a hot button issue. It doesn't matter what we do, we're not going to win on this one, folks. Somebody's going to be mad about whatever we put in or don't put in or do not do. We would save ourselves a lot of grief to simply allow public comment after the presentation and after our discussion. And that'll be my motion, that on the 10th of September at the work session, after the presentation and after our discussion, the public is invited to comment.
Ask a clarifying question. Is that 2 times after the presentation before we?
After, we will open the work session. At the time that this presentation is made and we have our discussion, then the public would be invited to make comments.
So at the end, then?
At the end. They will be invited because they will hear what we're hearing. They won't be seeing it on social media. They won't be getting it off WRAL. They will not be reading it in the paper. They can sit in the room. They can hear the discussion. They can hear the presentation by the attorney, by our manager, by any of our staff. They can hear our comments, and then they can decide whether this is something they can live with or whether they still vehemently oppose it.
Would you entertain a time limit?
A 1-hour time limit. As I mentioned, we're paid to sit here. These folks come at their own discretion.
Excuse me, point of clarification. We're having a work session, this is for the attorney, we're having a work session for a presentation for some proposed ideas. We're not making any decisions, and we're not moving forward with anything that you are going to be presenting.
That's correct. It's a presentation of examples of how something would work if the board decided to do it. What you'll be asked to do is to give staff direction, whether that direction be study this further or ask planning staff to come up with actual numbers rather than just the hypotheticals and examples that are being presented. You're not going to be passing any ordinance.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Price. Discussion.
But let me just say that.
Discussion, Commissioner Price?
So my motion, though, does not include that 1 hour.
Okay. I'll add the hour time.
No.
I thought he made a motion.
He made the motion.
He made the motion, but there was some discussion about up to an hour, and I think that's a bit much. But I
spent less than an hour tonight with a room full of people. I don't think we'll have 15 or 20 people there.
55 minutes.
Commissioner Markopoulos?
So what if we have a work session and we talk about it for 2 hours and we're not quite there? There's people in the room. What do we say?
We let them comment. It's not going to hurt us to listen.
That's a slippery slope because we don't have a policy at that point. It doesn't. I think you understand where I'm coming from. I want governance to be understood. I want people to have the opportunity to speak, and keeping it out of the work session allows both of those to move forward. There's plenty of time for public comment.
Commissioner McKee?
People are not ignorant. They can sit, they can listen, they can comprehend. They can hear the presentation, they can hear our comments, and if they wish to make a comment, regardless of pro or con, if they wish to make a suggestion. I have been amazed in the time I've sat on this board, how many times I've had somebody come to me after we have proposed something and make suggestions that made sense. Maybe there will be an uproar and people will be mad and they'll just express their frustration, and that's okay too. But my expectation is that the majority of the people in the room will listen to the presentation, they will listen to our comments, and they will respond to those comments and presentation in a rational manner. And maybe they will make suggestions that will help us find a solution to this. Orange County, fortunately or unfortunately, is not a rural county anymore. I understand that. fortunately or unfortunately, we're going to get more and more urban, and this is going to be more and more of a problem. You don't go over here to Church and Grove and shoot a rifle on half-acre lots. It's just, it's ignorant. But it's also, to me, does not make sense to require, we own 167 acres, and if you put 900-foot distances, almost nowhere on that 167 acres I can shoot. Almost nowhere. So we're going to have to thread this needle very delicately to try to figure out how do we put urban-style regulations without impinging on the Second Amendment rights, and I don't think we're impinging on that factor. But this is a urban-rural issue. It's an issue that is going to get more and more divisive the more congested this county gets. And yeah, it's a southern issue right now, but it's coming north as hard and fast as it can come. And you give it 50 years, and this whole county is going to look like Chapel Hill.
I don't know about that, but okay.
Look at Atlanta.
They don't have a real buffer.
I'll just leave off there. I just think that people on a divisive issue should have a right to speak to their elected representatives while the discussion's going on, not at a later time, not at a later date, not at some time in the future. They need to be able to speak to us, and we are obligated to sit as long as it takes and listen to them.
Commissioner Green, then Commissioner Bedford?
Before we take a vote on that motion, which doesn't have a second yet.
It
right?
does.
It does have a
Commissioner
second?
Price.
Oh, okay. I'd like to just understand, partly because I'm still new at this, would we have one public hearing or two public hearings before we voted on the ordinance change, if there were one?
Well, this kind of ordinance does not require a public hearing, so what I've heard board members talking about is just having a public hearing in order to invite the public to have full participation prior to any decision being made by the board. I don't think there is an answer to whether you would have to have a second meeting after that. It's up to the board. You know,
I'm actually asking, could we? I mean, the other part of Commissioner McKee's original petition was to have a public hearing 2 weeks in advance of when we voted on it. I don't object to that. I think we could have a public hearing on one meeting, and then in 2 weeks have another public hearing after which we immediately vote, and that would give folks 2 more chances after the work session to persuade us, including one at a meeting where we're still not going to make the decision yet.
right,
Could we do
it's the
that?
board's prerogative. You could have 10 public hearings on a divisive issue if you want. There is no restriction on that. Again, this type of ordinance requires no public hearing. So even having one is far in excess of what the law requires.
Well, I would be in favor of 2. I mean, that would help me figure out how to, I still think an hour is a long time to have public comment after the work session. I still think people could comment by email or phone calls after the work session just as easily. So.
Okay, we're going to take a vote. I am in favor of having public hearings, 1, 2, no matter what, but I'm not going to change our procedure for work session. I just don't. I just don't feel like we should change that on the fly without having a full discussion.
Fair point.
So, any more comments before we vote on this? So we have a motion by Commissioner Keys. Yes, Commissioner Price.
Now, when I was thinking of the, comment after the presentation, that was thinking that we were not having public hearings. And also, I think it's good for a point of clarification. And in my mind, it would be more of to provide that opportunity for dialogue if someone has a question about what we were just talking about, or even being able to provide us with specifications that we may, because we don't, for example, I don't build berms. So, I may have a question about, how deep, a bullet can actually go into a berm. I wouldn't know. Someone else from the public might. And that's the type of, dialogue that I'm thinking of, or, someone that can inform us, or if they just have a question about what we've been talking about.
But that could happen in a public hearing.
Well, we don't really do that much back and forth talking during
Well,
public
we
hearing.
wouldn't in the work session either, but
Well,
we could do
when
more
we
in a public
had,
hearing.
well, the times that we did allow for speaking out, and I'm trying to remember, the only one I can remember right now was when we were talking about the Cedar Grove Community Center, and we did have an exchange. There was exchange as we were talking.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against?
Nay.
No.
Okay, so that motion fails. And then we'll talk about public hearings on the 10th. Thank you, Commissioner Ricky. I think what you raised some really important points, and perhaps we can figure out how to respond a little bit better to social media, even though you agree that it's out of control, but maybe we can get folks to sign up for our Twitter and Facebook account so we can try and at least get some more information out there that way. Okay, let's move to something fun now, 4A, and this is the Nature of Orange photography contest, and this is to recognize the winners and thank the participants, the judges, and the Nature of Orange, and thank you all for hanging with us and getting a lesson in how government works. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Hecht. I work with the Department of Environment, Agriculture, Parks, and Recreation. And annually, we have our Nature of Orange photo contest. This year was our 8th annual contest. A couple years ago, I specified, let's try to do it in our parks and trails to sort of highlight, what we have in our lands. And this year, we added farms to that because there's a lot of farms, a lot of farming issues that surround our department. And so we added that. This year, we had 65 entries, 27 youth, 38 adults. Our judges evaluate the photos on relevancy, composition, arrangement, focus, sharpness, lighting, and creativity. So, to begin with, our first place adult winner, Bob Johnson. Did he come? He promised to come.
I have to come up, okay. Is Bob here?
He was just here.
Oh, man.
Yes.
We waited
Outside
so
talking.
long.
You still gotta go.
I've got to go. There's others.
So Bob Johnson's photo was Okanichi Village snow.
Very nice.
The second place adult photo is snow-covered Eno. Charles Shepard, I know he's not going to be able to be here. We've seen a lot of his photos in the past. Yeah. It's funny, 2 in a row of snow. So third place, Joel Elliott, boat launch at dawn. Joel, is he here? Come on up.
Thank you.
So Bob's missing another one. We have 2 honorable mentions per adult and youth age group, just because we have so many photos, and this was his photo, Amtrak crossing the Eno. And Joe again had the other honorable mention, Access Mundi. Come on back up. I should have just made you stand up.
Yeah.
Do it again? One's not enough? What kind of camera?
Not even sure, he's several.
No. He just said that might have been his phone. Yeah.
Wow.
So for our youth, first place, just hanging, Alexina Ortsky.
Oh, wow, very nice.
I'm hoping we didn't lose youth to the long time we waited. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Second place, yellow on yellow, Maggie Sambach. I know she had another event tonight, so she couldn't come.
I think Maggie won last year, didn't she?
She didn't win. She made a
honorable
place
mention,
and
yeah.
an honor. She made two, yeah. And I know Haley's here. Third place, Sunny, Haley Wade. Honorable mention, left to rust, Ryan Kruthrop, probably, is Ryan here? And another Maggie Sambach, Crabtree Creek, and again, Maggie couldn't be here tonight. Our judges, and I want to thank our judges because they do a lot of work to judge the contest, are Holden Richards, he's a photographer, David Schaub, who's also a photographer, and Kent Murray, and I know they couldn't be here tonight.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. And just really quickly, I wanted to say we just had these on display at Cup of Joe. They've moved over to the library on Margaret Lane. At the end of the month, they moved to the visitor center by the library, and then in January, they'll move to the Chapel Hill Visitor Center in the kind of behind it where you go up the stairs. And if you go there now, you'll see last year's photos are still hanging. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for everyone who participated. This is so much fun every year, so thank you. We're going to move to 4B, and this is the appointment of the tax administrator. The board will consider voting to approve a resolution appointing Nancy Taylor Friedman as Orange County Tax Administrator effective September 3rd, 2019, and authorize the chair to sign. And Ms. Manager, I guess this one's you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and County Commissioners. I'm pleased to present to you a resolution for your consideration and approval appointing Nancy Taylor Freeman as the Orange County Tax Administrator effective September 3rd, 2019. The Orange County Tax Administrator serves in the statutory roles of both the Orange County Tax Assessor and the Orange County Tax Collector. Sections 105-294 and 105-349 of the North Carolina General Statutes provide that the Board of County Commissioners appoint a county assessor and tax collector. The Board of County Commissioners shall appoint a qualified person to serve as county assessor or tax collector for the period of the unexpired term upon a vacancy per North Carolina law. Orange County held a competitive recruitment for the position of tax administrator. 3 candidates were invited to interview before 2 panels. One panel consisted of community partners with representation from the town of Chapel Hill, Orange Water and Sewer Authority, and some department directors. The other panel included 3 members of the Board of Commissioners, the county manager and the deputy county manager. Candidates were also given the opportunity to meet the staff at the tax administration office. Both panels convened at the end of the interviewing process, and Ms. Freeman was the unanimous choice. Staff also endorsed this recommendation. The manager recommends that the board approve and authorize the chair to sign the attached resolution appointing Nancy Taylor Freeman as the Orange County Tax Assessor and Orange County Tax Collector titled Tax Administrator effective September 3rd, 2019 to fill the unexpired term through April 2nd, 2023. There is a resolution. If I would defer to the commissioners if you would like to read that.
Yes, we will. Commissioner Green's going to read that.
Sure, my pleasure. Whereas Timothy Wayne Bryson was appointed by the Orange County Board of County Commissioners to serve as tax administrator from April 2nd, 2019 through April 2nd, 2023, and whereas the Orange County Tax Administrator serves in statutory roles of both the Orange County Tax Assessor and the Orange County Tax Collector, whereas Timothy Dwayne Bryson resigned from the position of Orange County Tax Administrator effective June 28, 2019, and had been appointed to serve as the Orange County Tax Assessor and Orange County Tax Collector for a term of 4 years as per Resolution 2019-023, adopted by the Board of Commissioners on April 2nd, 2019. And whereas, as per North Carolina law, the Board of County Commissioners shall appoint a qualified person to serve as Orange County Tax Assessor and Orange County Tax Collector for the period of the unexpired term upon its vacancy. And whereas Orange County Manager Bonnie Hammersley has recommended Nancy Taylor Freeman to be appointed to serve for the unexpired terms of Timothy Dwayne Bryson as Orange County Tax Assessor and Orange County Tax Collector for the period of September 3rd, 2019 through April 2nd, 2023. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Orange County Board of County Commissioners, as provided for under Chapter 105-294 and 105-349 of the North Carolina General Statutes, does hereby appoint Nancy Taylor Freeman as Orange County Tax Assessor and Orange County Tax Collector to serve the unexpired terms of Timothy Dwayne Brinson, which terms end April 2nd, 2023, and that such appointments shall be served until the title Orange County Tax Administrator, and that such appointments shall be served under the title Orange County Tax Administrator, and that such appointments begin on September 3rd, today, 2019. Adopted by the Board of County Commissioners this third day of September 2019.
We need a motion?
Oh, there's motion. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Awesome, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
And congratulations. Thank you. Nancy, why don't you, hey, y'all, why don't you come up and take a picture with her? Come on, y'all, come on. Come on, I see you all back there. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. And Dwayne, did you not want to be in the picture?
Dwayne should be in the picture.
He's not staff anymore.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, he's part of Durham now. Oh.
Uh-oh. Hey now.
This is good press.
We're not gonna get any better.
Can I get you on the stand?
Oh, my.
Yeah. Okay. She knows people. There we go.
Good job, y'all. Look at that, they lined up
That's nice.
perfectly. You can tell what office they're from.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, folks, that was great. Thank you so much. We are going to move on to 4C, and we have 2 people signed up to speak. This is the board will consider voting to approve a proclamation declaring August 1st, 2019 through July 31st, 2020 as a year of remembrance to commemorate the 400th anniversary of unfree Africans first arriving in English North America, and to authorize the chair to sign. We have Annette Moore, we have, let's see, I see Deb, do we have anyone up? There we go. All right, y'all come on up. And Annette, would you like to read the resolution from the official resolution?
I'd like to say a few words and let Debbie read the resolution. if That's
we got
okay.
it.
I don't know why she keeps trying to hide. In 1619, after having been kidnapped from their villages and taken from what is now referred to as Angola, 350 Africans were forced onto Portuguese slave ships that were bound for the New World. Approximately half of those Africans died at sea. 50 Africans were stolen by English pirates off the coast of Mexico and taken to Point Comfort. a colony that eventually became Virginia. That some 20 and odd Negroes, identified by James Rolfe, the widower of Pocahontas and colony's secretary, who were taken to Point Comfort, came on 2 ships, the White Lion and the Treasurer. Upon his arrival in Point Comfort, the captain of the White Lion sold the Africans for food. This marked what some believe to be the beginning of slavery in the United States. James Hord, president of the Jamestown Rediscovery Foundation, said, 1619 gave birth to the great paradox of our nation's founding, slavery in the midst of freedom. It marked both the origin of the most important political development in American history, the rise of democracy, and the emergence of what would become one of the nation's greatest challenges, the corrosive legacy of racial discrimination and inequality that has afflicted our society since its earliest years. For 246 years, slavery was legal in America. It didn't become illegal until 150 years ago. Slavery has been part of America much longer than it hasn't. A century and a half after slavery was made illegal, we still see the trauma of this infectious disease. Throughout the 20th century, textbooks either glossed over slavery, often not treating it as a part of American story, or fed students tales that masked the reality of slavery, some even telling students that Africans were better off enslaved. What has this practice led to? Lack of understanding, confusion, tension, and polarization. Tonight, we ask you, commissioners, to proclaim this 400 years anniversary and ask you to ask the Human Relations Commission over this next year to plan programs to educate people and to acknowledge the history of Africans in America. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Debbie, Debbie, are you both going to read?
I have a public comment.
Well, let's let Debbie read the resolution first, and then you have a comment, and Anna has a comment. So before we make motion, we'll hear comments. Debbie is chair of our HRC. Take it away.
Thank you. Orange County Board of Commissioners 400 Years Proclamation. Whereas in 1619, unfree Africans, some 20 and odd Negroes, arrived in the English settlement that would become Virginia. And whereas this historic arrival marked the beginning of the period in America where people of Africa were forcibly taken from their homeland, transported to the American colonies, and later the United States, and committed to lifelong slavery and racial discrimination. And whereas, after the Civil War, the 13th, the 14th, and 15th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution were ratified, ending slavery in the U.S. and granting the newly freed slaves freedom, citizenship, the equal protection of law, and the right to vote. But despite these amendments, blacks were quickly subjected to Jim Crow, a legally sanctioned, institutionalized system of racial segregation and subordination, as well as white resistance and violence. And whereas, despite efforts such as the civil rights movement in the 1960s, anti-racism advocacy, progressive legislation, and the election of President Barack Obama, blacks continue to face oppression and inequities across systems and institutions. And whereas Orange County is home to black citizens who are descendants of Africans who were kidnapped and enslaved 400 years ago. And whereas blacks are diverse, respected citizens, respected residents who have worked to transcend the continuing impacts of slavery and racial segregation and contribute to our community's economic, political, social, and spiritual well-being. And whereas blacks whose experiences, generational wisdom, and work to triumph over racial oppression connect us to the past and help us meet the challenges of the future. And Whereas our community must strive to understand and address the history and legacy of racism, its impacts, and the evolving challenges and needs of all its residents as a result of those impacts. And whereas today and every day, let us remember the harrowing experience of the Africans who first came to the shores of English North America and the plight and burden of their descendants. Now, therefore, we, the Orange County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim August 1st, 2019 through July 31st, 2020 as a year of remembrance to commemorate the 400th anniversary of unfree Africans first arriving in English North America by working towards racial healing and justice through revisiting the past and learning about efforts to win freedom and equality, and encourage the Orange County Human Relations Commission to, over this anniversary year and beyond, to plan programs to acknowledge the impact that slavery and laws that enforce racial discrimination and inequity had on the United States, and encourage civic, patriotic, historical, educational, artistic, religious, and economic organizations to organize and participate in anniversary activities this third day of September 2019.
Thank you, Debbie. And we have two people that want to speak about this, and then we can make some comments. First one is Allison Haley, who is also on our HRC.
Thank you.
Welcome, Allison.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for your service, and I want to thank you for considering this proclamation. I think that I had the privilege of seeing it beforehand as it was being drafted, because I am on the Human Relations Commission, but I don't want to speak to you as a member of the Human Relations Commission. I want to speak to you as someone who is a Southerner, who is a white woman, and who has worked in public schools. The need for this resolution and for the work that needs to come out of it is sometimes overwhelming. What your charge is, beyond just passing a resolution, is to fully engage in this work, to take it on not only because you're elected officials, but because you are also mostly white people living in this community. I encourage you to take on this work because it is transformational. When you bother to think about what our history really means, what our government has grown to do, what our institutions have upheld, and really honestly look at that and own it, and committing yourself to changing it into something that is equitable for all people, it will be transformational for you personally, and then we can transform the systems that are upholding it. That's what I want to say to you tonight. You, please engage and help us bring this kind of programming and this kind of commitment to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. And Anna Richards. Welcome, Anna.
Good evening, commissioners. My name's Anna Richards. I'm a resident of Chapel Hill for the last 6 years, relocating here on my retirement, and am also an active member of our community and president of the Chapel Hill Carrboro NAACP. I come tonight as an African-American descendant of enslaved people. I come as a resident of what I thought was an enlightened area of the South in my retirement. I have been shocked and appalled at the lack of information and knowledge about the true history of this country. That's not particular or peculiar to the South, although I know that many Southerners want to uphold our treasonous history from this reason as the true history of the South. And I really want to say that we need to understand our history lest we repeat it. And shockingly to me, as a 69-year-old woman, I see things today that I thought I would never see in my lifetime, and things that I thought my children would never have to confront or worry about. I think this proclamation and the work that it engages gives us an opportunity as a community to try to further dialogue. And as an organization, I think many of you know that we've taken on educating and enlightening the community as part of what we see as our role in the NAACP. I think this is your opportunity to make that commitment for a larger segment of the community, and that your personal engagement would be an example. One quote that I saw that I think is particularly relevant here is, you are not responsible for anyone else's actions or karma, but you are responsible for your own. And I think that that gives all of us an opportunity to take that responsibility up and to try to talk about the truth of what made America, America, and go forward. I had the opportunity last month to go to Jamestown, Virginia. The NAACP embarked upon a 1619 journey back to Africa during this year of return. And I would just encourage us as a community to take this seriously, and I hope that you'll see fit to not only pass a resolution, but to engage and encourage our community to be involved in actions that make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I apologize for saying your name wrong. Comments from the board? Commissioner Price?
Just to say that, and I did mention it during my comments, but I forgot I had the flyers with me. But I am very pleased to say that that Orange County is involved through the Orange County Human Relations Commission, as well as the Department on Aging, that is partnering with us on the event on the 16th. And in all of the programs that we've held so far, we've allowed for the discussion so that people can really understand, what our plight has been. So, and when you're ready, I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Additional comments? Okay, Commissioner Price?
Make a motion that we approve this proclamation.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Green. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Okay. Congratulations.
And Penny, take those down.
Okay. Thank you all. We look forward to the programming, and we will stay involved. We are moving on to 4D. We also have two people that would like to speak to 4D, and this is in response to the KKK showing up and putting themselves in front of the Hillsborough Courthouse. And there was a comment that was sort of pushed around that these folks aren't from Orange County, they're from Caswell County. And I got a phone call soon after from Caswell County Sterling Carter, who said that he didn't want Caswell County to be known as a place that sends folks down to Orange County to protest in their KKK uniforms, outfits, I don't know what they are. And so we decided that we were going to write a resolution against what happened. So Sterling and I worked on this together, and we are going to try and pass this tonight, and then Caswell County will try to pass it soon after us, and I'm hoping that we can send this to all the other counties. And I'm happy to read this. Orange County Board of County Commissioners resolution condemning the Ku Klux Klan and other similar groups. Whereas the Ku Klux Klan, consisting of numerous independent local groups throughout the United States, is an organization that symbolizes hatred. And whereas the Ku Klux Klan promotes violence, domestic terrorism, and racial terrorism. And whereas intimidation, discrimination, oppression, and racism threaten American democracy. And whereas white supremacists are exploiting bigotry and have weaponized hate targeting African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, Asian Americans, LGBTQ communities, immigrants, Jews, Muslims, and other people of color. And whereas there's an urgent need to ensure the safety and security of all Orange County residents. And whereas Orange County prides itself on being a diverse, open community dedicated to fostering positive human relations, promoting the equal treatment of all individuals, encouraging goodwill and harmony among groups in the county, and protecting residents' personal dignity so as to make available to the county their full productive and creative capacities. And whereas Orange County fully embraces the rights guaranteed in the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights, but equally believes those rights do not give the right to any person or group to threaten the existence of others. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Orange County Board of Commissioners, strongly oppose the activities of the Ku Klux Klan, reject white nationalism, white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and any other hate groups, and urge lawmakers in the state of North Carolina and the federal government to denounce threats posed by these groups. This, the third day of September 2019. And we have two folks that would like to speak about this. First up is Anna Richards. Welcome. Back.
Thank you. I'm back. I didn't know this was on the agenda until I got here, and I came really tonight for the other one, but seeing it on, I couldn't help but have a word. And just to say that like 1619 is 400 years, 1919 is 100 years ago this year, which was known as a year of terror in this country. And during that year, there was literally streams of blood across this country as African Americans were burned, lynched, killed, murdered, largely through the organization of the Ku Klux Klan. And so that they are terrorists, I think is goes without saying. And I'm really happy to hear the strong denunciation by our county of this group. I was here on Saturday. I don't know how many of you were, but it was just an amazing display of people in Orange County saying that this is not the place that we want. And I think it's going to take a lot of work, because I don't know where they're coming from, if it's Caswell County or Orange, but they're among us, right? They're here somewhere. And so I think it's going to take a concerted effort. I am very concerned about some of the personal threats to the activists, particularly here in Northern Orange. And I hope that our law enforcement is taking those things seriously. There were people taking pictures on Sunday at the vigil, taking pictures of car license plates, and there was a great deal of intimidation taking place on Sunday. So it's real, it's here, and I hope that we're all taking the threat seriously, and that there is danger in our community, and it's going to take I think real effort by all of us, including law enforcement. And I hope that in addition to the proclamation, that we do figure out how we're going to deal with this in our community, whether that's on how we're going to report it, how we're going to take threats seriously, what we're going to do to protect people who are being threatened as we speak. So it's serious, and I appreciate the sentiment of the proclamation, or I don't know, was it a resolution?
Thank you, Anna, I
Thank you.
appreciate it, yeah. Mr. Ruski, I didn't realize that you had signed up first, so why don't you come up and speak next? And then we have LaTondra Strong.
As written, this resolution represents another in a series of county government attacks on the First Amendment rights of citizens to speak freely and to assemble peaceably. It is particularly problematic in its lack of clarity in defining the groups it is attacking. The term other hate groups is especially dangerous to a free society. Who gets to decide what is a hate group? How do you define hate? Some examples demonstrate the insidious nature of this resolution. I happen to be white. It's a matter of genetics. My skin color is neither good nor bad. It just is what it is. More than 50 years ago, I took an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That certainly makes me a nationalist, by definition. Are you condemning me just because I'm a white-skinned former United States Army officer? Each of you took an oath to support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States. Doesn't that make you nationalists regardless of your skin color? Are you condemning only those of you who are white? What are the other hate groups? Will you condemn the anti-abortionist groups because they hate the murder of innocent children? How about members of our police forces because they hate criminal conduct? How about Republicans because they are called deplorable racists? How about Antifa, a group that actually has committed violence in our community? The list could go on forever because animosity towards others is a common human condition. Nobody likes it, but it's real. You claim to embrace the First Amendment rights of the United States citizens, but really you only embrace those rights for those with whom you agree. The First Amendment exists precisely to prevent government from infringing on the freedom of Americans to speak freely and assemble peaceably. The founders knew all too well the urge by governments to curtail the freedoms of their subjects. Stop taking actions against the rights of our United States citizens in Orange County.
Thank you, Mr. Ruski. Okay, LaTondra Strong. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is LaTondra Strong, and I am the proud lead organizer for the rally this Saturday. It did my heart well, and it did lots of the people in this community's heart well. I was also at the prayer vigil on Sunday, where members of this community took pictures of us and put them on social media. They took pictures of our license plates and put them on social media. At the end of that prayer visual, where there was 5 different clergy, each praying for the safety of this community, we had to make decisions. Some of us walked different places and waited, and some of us drove away in different cars because of what we had endured. The KKK is really clear about what they intend to do to our community. They left literature in people's yards, and if you look at that literature, it's really clear about the violent acts. I have been called Antifa. I don't own a gun. I've never harmed anyone. I've never put my hands on anybody physically, never. I'm not a communist, and all these things have been said about this event that we had. We're under attack. The people of color communities are terrified after the KKK showing up. I think you have a responsibility as leaders of this community to stop the nonsense about free speech when we have violent organizations recruiting in our community. This is not about free speech. And it's really clear now that Confederate flag wavers have a direct link to the KKK. And I will tell you that I don't watch the social media notices, but people frequently send me copies when my family and my children are at risk because I speak up for what I believe. And none of these people who talk about free speech come in and say she should be allowed to say the things that she says. This is not about free speech. This is about terrorism. There's a big difference. I ask you to pass your proclamation, and I actually ask you to do more, because some of the conversations that I have heard through leadership in this community talking about being fair to both sides, there is no comparison between Hate Free Schools Coalition and the KKK. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Strong. Okay, so resolution has been read, and I need, if anyone would like to make a comment before we get a motion. Commissioner Markopoulos?
I'd just like to follow up with what LaTondra Strong said. It's when you have people coming into town with guns on their hips, threatening people, we have to have the intelligence to understand what the difference is between free speech and terrorist threats, right? We're going to have to learn to make those decisions and protect people in this community. You know, it's easy to use the excuse of free speech, but when you see something like what was written on those flyers, and you hear what people said downtown at that time, it goes beyond First Amendment rights, and we need to be able to understand that.
Thank you. Commissioner Price?
Yeah, a couple of things. You know, as LaTondra said, this is a proclamation, but we need to do more. And I know that, you know, you spoke with as chair, spoke with the commissioner in Caswell County, but I really think we need to have a discussion in this county amongst the leadership here, and also about what we are going to do. And as far as people being, you know, feeling intimidated, yes, because in a lot of people, you could count probably on two hands the number of people of color that were at the event on Saturday. And it's because a lot of people have experienced, a lot of us, the older ones, we've experienced this before. And people did not want to have to go through it again, but we felt the need to at least to go out there and support our younger generations, as well as people that have never encountered this in the past. So just a couple of things that I think with regards to this proclamation. First of all, I think we also need to include, in addition to Jews, Muslims, and other people of color, also of other faiths, because it's not just two or three religions or faiths in this community. I would like to see something about being more, I mean, we talk about, there's this, whereas Orange County prides itself on being a diverse, open community. Well, I think that, to be really honest, we need to say Orange County is making strides to be a diverse and inclusive community, because we've got a ways to go. And I think it's misleading to say that, you know, we are now proud of the diversity that we have. So those are the two changes that I would like to make. And if there's some way to put in here that we are actually, well, you can combine that into one, in addition to being diverse, but also to be inclusive. And one thing about the march and about the vigil was that people were actually chanting about unity. And I think we also have to understand the threats that we were under, but also that there's a lot of power in unity and the love that was flowing through the streets on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, so I have, Jews, Muslims, other people of color, and faiths.
And of other faiths.
And of other faiths. Okay, and tell me the other correction.
Where it says Orange County prides itself on being a diverse, open community, I think it should say something to the effect, and, you know, someone else can help me wordsmith this, but Orange County is taking strides to become, or is become, or?
Yeah, how about to become a more diverse
Diverse and inclusive
community?
community.
Okay.
And strike the part about prides itself.
Okay, other comments?
You want to add unity in there?
Sure.
It's a goodwill, harmony, and unity
Yes,
among groups.
Okay,
thank you.
so we have 3 changes. Commissioner McKee?
Yes, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, not only knowing where the local Klan house was, but knowing who some of the purported members were. And yes, they spewed their racial hate then, but in the 70s and 80s, it seemed that the tolerance for that nonsense became less and less acceptable, and these folks were either driven or by their own shame decided to go underground. I'm quite sure that regardless of where the folks that showed up the other weekend on the courthouse steps, regardless of where they came from, there's also some robes hanging in closets in Orange County.
Oh, yeah.
You just don't know who they are anymore. The problem that I see is that the community disincentive to accept that nonsense seems to be waning, and they seem to be becoming more and more emboldened. And I don't care what group it is, but anybody who would associate with somebody in a white robe and a conical hat probably needs to be taken off the street by the sheriff or the local authorities if there's a way to do it, which I don't exactly understand what that way is, but the moment we start accepting that as a reasonable alternative speech, we're going right downhill.
Commissioner Green?
I want to thank Latondra, you and all you did to promote Saturday and to say I thought the event on Sunday, which I was not at, was really wonderful and inspired and important. I thought it was a really good idea to add the word unity to the resolution, because although we are not unified and it is an aspiration to be unified, I particularly want to know how, as a white ally, I can be more helpful as a white ally. And I think I just wanted to say that personally, and because it's going to take all of us to make these changes, and I just want you to know that that I'm with you.
So, yeah, I'm also thankful. I was out of town the entire weekend, so by the time that it got to me that y'all were marching, I was far away. But I was there with my thoughts and my spirit, so please know that. Okay, so we have the 3 changes as per Commissioner Price and Commissioner Green, and so I need a motion to accept that resolution.
So moved.
Second. Commissioner Price and Commissioner Green, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? And that passes. Thank you all for sticking with us tonight. We are going to move into 5A, which is a public hearing, and this is a zoning atlas amendment for 6405 West 10 Road, PIN number 9834-25-2573. And this is going to rezone a 16.45 acre parcel of property to general commercial, which is GC4. And we have Patrick at the dais who is going to walk us through this. And then we will open up the public hearing.
Good evening, Commissioners. Pat Mallett, Current Planning. Hope you had a nice summer. I'm not going to go through the entire packet, but
Please don't.
This item is from pages 30 to 54 in your entire packet. If you have any specific questions about those items, I'm happy to answer them. I would note that, however, I do have a switch out. It's the yellow goldenrod colored item at your tables. The reason for this is the timing doesn't work when you're certifying for the legal ad. The legal ad ran out on the last one on the 28th. Your packets are already gone, so this is the signed certified with the receipts from the newspaper. So I'm going to go through the PowerPoint presentation very quickly. Any questions? Okay. So this is, as you stated, a property that's off of West End Road. Just to orient you, this is the I-40 highway, Buckhorn Road, West End Road, headed towards the Alamance County line. The beginning of this property is about 900 feet to the west in the northwest quadrant of the intersection with West End and Buckhorn Road. There are photos showing the property. It has somewhat of an odd shape. There's two pieces of frontage. This is the neighborhood commercial portion here. Another piece of frontage here. The back portion of this property has largely been used for agricultural uses over the years. This is the existing zoning. As you can see, there's the neighborhood commercial, which covers the landscaping, general contracting portion of the property. That includes a non-residential structure and a pole barn, used largely to contain contracting materials. Back portion of the property is zoned R1, rural residential, and that includes a portion of the property through here. Site summary, I won't go through all this, but essentially converting the neighborhood commercial portion and the rural residential portion and keeping the watershed and major transportation overlay districts to the same, but consolidating the split zoning to GC4. Why do this? This is consistent with the designation in the land use plan. This area, I realize the star is covering a large portion of it, is designated commercial industrial transition activity node. And that area, if you read through the language, is designed to encourage commercial and industrial and economic development type activity and zoning. It's urban designated. These are some site photos. This is facing on West 10, facing towards, you can see the Buckhorn intersection right there. This is facing westward along the frontage, one of the existing driveways. The commercial facility with various landscaping materials out front. Pole barn, one of the adjacent residences. This is the old farm road, really, that goes back to the old the cornfields. That's the R1 portion of the property. Summary. Some of you were on the board when, in 2016, the Board of Commissioners directed staff to look at county-wide properties that had zoning issues, problems, namely split zoning. This was part of that batch for this township. It was among 23 properties that were identified by staff. At that time, Mr. Dobie, the property owner, said, hey, I need to consider some things. I want to pull my property out of that batch of requests. And I realized that if I either wait till the staff recharges and goes back through split zoning cases, maybe years from now, or I'll pay on my own dime. So this case is him deciding, okay, now I'm ready to move forward with this, and I'm willing to pay for the rezoning on my own dime. Staff recommended the rezoning to GC4. If you follow the comprehensive plan, there's actually an Appendix F and a chart, and it lists out appropriate zoning categories. That's the appropriate zoning category for this designation. And split zoning properties in general, they, back in the day, they would typically try to cover literally the building that it was used for, maybe the parking and portions of the property. Over time, that's proven to be difficult for zoning reasons, just practical reasons, so on and so forth. Recommendations, the manager recommends the board receive the request, conduct the public hearing, and accept comment, close the public hearing, approve the statement of consistency in attachment 7, and approve the ordinance amending the zoning atlas in attachment 8, as recommended by the planning board and the planning director. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have, and as I said, we have a representative of the property owner here to also answer questions.
Questions? Commissioner Price?
A question. So is there a timeline on that bike ped proposal?
Not that nothing defined, no. Not that I know of.
All right.
But it's identified, and that's one of those that when it comes through, when a site plan ever came through, that would be factored in.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I have, let's see, let's get a motion to open up the public hearing.
So moved?
Commissioner Bedford and Green, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, we have one person that would like to speak, and it is Crystal, and I can't say the last name. So you're going to have to come up and tell us your name. Welcome.
My name is Crystal Galdoni.
Oh, no wonder I couldn't do that, okay.
I live at 6231 Weston Road in Mebane with out of my four children and husband. The land requested for rezoning tonight directly affects me because it touches 1, 2, 3 sides of my property directly. Let's see if I can do it. So I live right here. Okay. I'm actually the granddaughter of the property owner who is trying to have his land rezoned as commercial. I feel that this land should not be rezoned as commercial because it will cause more harm than good in the community and for my family. Look, I sat back here and changed all my notes when all the gun stuff was going on. I feel that the biggest concern that I have with the rezoning for the installation of what the intention is with this property is a mini storage facility. Did you ask what he was planning on doing with the property? So the site plan would be the mini storage facility. I have 4 children. I have lived on this same property since 2010 when I built my home in Orange County. I moved to Orange County because I did like that it was a diverse community and I don't want to move. I feel that the building of a public mini storage facility in my backyard will increase the crime rate in our neighborhood a great deal. With mini storage facilities comes lots of expensive personal belongings open to the local criminals who then see it as open game due to poor surveillance, cheap, easily accessible locking mechanisms and such like that comes with the mini storage facilities. Mr. Dobie does not currently offer any security to his business that does sit on the road front. All of his commercial equipment that sits out there is sitting out in the open with no security. He's had large pieces of equipment stolen and other supplies out in broad daylight on this property. I have attempted to pull the police reports, but Orange County Communications Center told me that they no longer keep call records for burglaries in those incidences longer than 1 year, so I didn't have anything for the last year. His own son-in-law is one of the burglars that is a known local drug addict. This is concerning to me because I feel that if he sees that there is a mini storage facility on this property, he is going to continue to steal stuff from other people that he doesn't even know. I've been a victim of crime in this neighborhood when I built my home, and they never caught the perpetrators that robbed me, and there's a lot more crime that's going on. The little boy that hit the guy in the head with the machete from Yarborough Road, that's been really recent, and that's been close by. I feel like when we add something like this to the community, we're giving criminals permission to hunt in our area. Does that mean I'm done?
You could finish up, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also feel that putting mini storage facility in my backyard affects the curbside appeal of my property had I chosen to move. I've met with several real estate agents, and they said that zoning that property commercial would affect the resale value of my home. My home is currently valued at $198,000. And I've paid down on that 10 years, and I would not want to move. There's also a new 6-foot chain link fence down the middle of my driveway that affects the property value as well. These are just a few of the things that was a big deal for me, was the property value and the safety for my children.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I don't have anyone else to speak to this. Does anyone want to?
I'll let the consultant for the property owner come up. I just want to point out that this is a general use case, so there was mention of a mini storage. You have to consider everything that would be permitted in the GC4 district. You can't specify one use versus another. What he's requesting is a general category that allows for that and many other commercial uses, so.
Thank you.
My name's Charles Huffine. I'm the civil engineer for the property owner. Our office is in Burlington, 505 East Davis Street. I would like to add things Patrick said. The initial 2016 batch 23 other properties. This one was specifically excluded by the property owners. He didn't have the decision at the time what he wanted to do with the property. I'd also like to add that the Planning Commission found this to be favorable. The conditions were completely met, sufficient. The Orange County 2030 plan was consistently found for this use, and the other item I think I should echo is Patrick's guidance to you. This is a general zoning, not anything conditional, and it is open to all of the permitted uses in your permitted use table. So if you have any questions on the specific future uses, once this property is considered for rezoning, Patrick and I'll be glad to help you.
Okay. Questions? Commissioner Price.
So what are the other uses to the east, to the west of the young woman's home? Are those residential or farm uses?
So GC4 is a general commercial classification that directly.
Right, now I
matches
mean
up.
the actual use.
Oh, this
not-
current use
Yes.
today? Okay, so the current use today includes agriculture in the rear and then landscaping and contracting business along.
But I mean, next to the young woman that spoke, Ms. Gadonia.
Right here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Chad, that's also used as agricultural.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Currently, that is.
Not back there, I'm talking about to the left of her home.
There's another home there.
Let me work with this.
Is that a
and you-
home or is that an agricultural use, a farming use?
So this is the current NC2 zoning covering the landscape business.
Yeah,
This is the residential area,
yeah.
currently zoned residential.
Now go just a little bit south. What are those 3 parcels there?
Okay, these 3 parcels, if I'm not mistaken, are residentially zoned.
All 3 of them?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're all residential uses on there?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I would like to add that as part of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but part of the rezoning to the general commercial district provides for a 100-foot buffer from residential use to the commercial use. So to try to scale that to you from about, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there we go. So I'll be the guide with this part of it. So there's a 100-foot buffer between, if this were rezoned to GC4 along this backside, adjacent to any of these residences here and here and here. And there's also a roadside buffer that would be required along West 10 Road. In this case, it virtually envelops this panhandle. That all would be a driveway, a fence, landscaping would be permitted, but you couldn't put any structures in that area because it would be enveloped with a 100-foot buffer on both sides.
And the back as well?
The back as well.
'Cause you got a
That
water
back
feature.
buffer would apply to this, well, I did it myself. Along here,
Yeah, is that a pond back there?
and then there's this is an old, I guess, an old farm
Retaining.
pond.
Can you go to the next slide? Not backwards, forwards. That one. Okay, thank you. Additional questions? Okay, so,
Move to close the public hearing.
thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Okay. Commissioner McKee, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, folks, so we have, yes, Commissioner Bedford?
Move to approve the statement of consistency in attachment 7.
Second.
Commissioner Bedford and McKee, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? No.
No.
Okay, that passes.
No,
Who was the no?
I'm sorry?
Was there a no?
there were 2 noes.
Who knows?
Two noes.
Commissioner Price and Commissioner Rich. And then approve the ordinance amending the zoning atlas attachment 8 as recommended by the planning board and planning director.
So moved.
Second.
Bedford and McKee again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? No.
No.
Same split. And that passes. Thank you. We are going to go on to B, which is a public hearing on the financing of various capital investment plan projects. The board will conduct a public hearing on the insurance of approximately $25,540,000 to finance capital investment projects and equipment for the fiscal year, and consider voting to approve a related resolution supporting the county's application to the Local Government Commission, LGC, for its approval and its financing arrangements. And Mr. Donaldson, welcome. Thank you for being here so late.
Good evening, Commissioners, and I hope you had a nice summer as well. Well, it actually may not be here, but the 3 attachments with this abstract. The first is a copy of the public hearing notice, which was held on August 18th and the 21st. The second attachment is a resolution supporting an application to the LGC. So following the public hearing, you'll be asked to vote on that resolution for us to move forward with the financing. In the PowerPoint presentation, you will see basically the highlights for this financing. On the second page, the terms of the financing, the amount, approximately $26 million, is secured by, I'm sorry, is it in your package? The security is annual appropriations from the county and a collateral secured by the Southern Campus, Seymour Center, and Northern Campus site. The terms of the maturity matches the useful life of the assets, which is 5 to 20 years. We're projecting that the interest rates will be between 2 to 3%. The source of repayment will be property taxes, and also there's a small Sportsplex capital item, and so the user fees from the Sportsplex will secure those portions. Because this is subject to annual appropriation, it's rated a notch below the general obligation bonds, which are the full faith and credit of the county. But this, again, is subject to annual appropriation. We're projecting the ratings to be from all 3 rating agencies, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch ratings of AA1 and AA+. We are moving forward with the LGC application. The list of projects to be financed are indicated here. This includes the Northern Campus. When we came before you in the spring, we talked about doing the full financing for the Northern Campus. We have since decided to bifurcate the two because the cash flow is being extended a bit more, so we don't want to go out to the capital markets when we don't need to. So we'll come back in the spring for a second portion. But the Northern Campus to do site work, and the 3 projects associated with that, as you know, the new detention center, the Ag Center, and the Parks Operation Base. The portion estimated for the Northern Campus is $10.6 million. Then we also have the Southern Campus project, which are improvements to the driveway access roads, as well as providing additional parking in Seymour Center. I don't want to know it is a bit late. You see the projects there, but I do want to point out among the remediation projects is the Link Center remediation, which is $6.5 million. We will be receiving bids for that later this week. We think that this estimate is a worst-case scenario based on the remediation that is occurring at the Emergency Services Center. The total amount, again, is estimated to be $26 million. There will be some adjustments, as noted in the email that Commissioner Bedford pointed out this morning on the emergency building remediation. We will come back on October 1st with a final resolution, and there you will see any adjustments with respect to cost estimates. Later on the agenda is the decision regarding the GMP for the Northern Campus, and so there will be further discussion on that. In terms of one of the things, we have a debt model, and it's a living document that we use. The payback, the 10-year payback is 71%. That's the principal retired over 10 years. The debt to assessed value is 1.3%. The state statute says you can't go over 3%. And of course, our debt to service to general fund revenues, the 15% policy. And you see we're over in some 2022 to 2024. That's been well discussed before you with respect to debt service threshold. Bond counsel drafted the documents. Bob Jessup is here as well. Following the completion of this presentation, it's open to the public.
Questions for Gary? Okay, let's open up the public hearing. Can motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have no one
No one signed up to speak.
to sign, no one signed up, so we need to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, do we have any additional questions? So the manager is recommending that the board conduct a public hearing, which we just did, adopt the resolution supporting the application to the LGC for approval of financing. You need a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Price and Markopoulos, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for hanging with us. Always a pleasure, I know, Bob. Okay. Regular agenda, we're going to move to 6A, and this is the format for the 2019 Orange County Summit. The board will consider voting to approve the framework for 2019 Orange County Summit and to assign roles for the members of the board of the county commissioners. And since Commissioner Dorson is not here, he has to do it all. So that's what we're going to do.
That was going to be my suggestion.
There you go.
Good evening, Commissioners. Welcome back. We are looking again at our 2019 Orange County Summit. You'll remember last year we did an Orange County Economic Development Summit at WCHO Radio. So this is basically another summit, but a few differences. It will be held on the same date, basically, Wednesday, October 16, 2019. We're going to do it here instead of at the radio station so we can show it live on the county's cable access channel, as well as if anybody wants to come and participate and watch, they can do that as well. And so what we need y'all tonight, as you recall after last year's, we got some feedback from the board. You wanted to expand it to go beyond economic development, not just focus on economic development. So some of the issues that were specifically mentioned were affordable housing and transportation. So we've got those in this agenda. And so what we really need tonight is for y'all to look at the agenda, make any suggestions you have on that, choose which assignments each of you would like to do, and assign one to Commissioner Dorson, and then provide any guidance on panelists that you feel would be good to have on any of the segments. So if you want me to roll through the whole thing, I can really quickly, and then y'all can discuss, or however you
Well,
want to proceed.
I think we can read it ourselves and sort of pick and choose what we want to do. If everybody is in favor of these different hour, we have 4 hours. One suggestion I'd like to make, I don't mind introducing and being the lead, but I think that the segment with social justice really should be Commissioner Dorson. He's a champion of that, and I would like to put him in that first slot if he's available for that first slot. So like I said, I'm happy to come in, speak and introduce, but I think would prefer him to be there, and possibly some of our, and, you know, you all can weigh on this, on the social justice one, maybe someone from our HRC. You know, the chair certainly wouldn't be a bad idea. And then maybe someone from the Family Success Alliance and from the Commission to Poverty, what do we call that, Commissioner Green? The homelessness?
Well, but we've got them on.
Partnership to End Homelessness.
Do we have them on affordable housing?
Good place for them.
Okay.
And we tried to make the topics kind of roll into each
Yeah,
other, so we thought the
that makes
social
sense.
justice would lead into the affordable
I
housing.
mean, possibly the Food Council has an approach to social justice.
Who's that?
The Food Council. The Food
Oh,
Council.
the Food Council and Social Justice, okay, that would be, we can.
I think everything is social justice. We're
Yeah.
all champions of that.
Yeah, so let's do, let's ask someone from the HRC, someone Food Council, and who else do we want to, we'll put Commissioner Dorson on this. So what we did last time is we had a commissioner on each panel.
We have 8 panels, right?
We have 4 panels. Is that right?
It depends if you want to
Two
split some of
segments.
them up. There's 4 one-hour slots, but like the economic development final hour is really, could be split into 2. One is small
I
business,
see,
one is
okay, I see,
industrial.
I was reading it wrong. Okay. All right, so the second part of hour 1 is affordable housing, that makes sense.
I would say somebody needs to represent the Affordable Housing Coalition, and Robert could do that as of that date, because he and Dolores are co-chairs of it.
Okay.
So just change his title there. I think that he would be able to speak more broadly than just from the Home Trust.
That's a good suggestion. We have Corey Root also on that, which you said you thought
Yeah,
was
it's good, because everything she's trying to do is to get housing. That's what
Okay.
homeless people need, is housing.
And then what commissioner would like to be on that one, on the affordable housing?
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, we have 2 commissioners that said they want
That's
to do that.
fine. Let Renee do it.
Commissioner Price, you want to do that one?
I can do transportation, public transportation.
Well, I was thinking that Commissioner Markopoulos would do transportation, but that's fine if you want to do that. Because he's our transportation person, but you are on the MPO, so we can decide about that. So who is going to do the affordable housing then? Do we? Okay, let's leave that open.
You want to do it?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it,
Okay.
but unless somebody else wants to.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Too bulky to have, I mean, could there not be both of
there
them?
can. Yeah, I just don't want to,
It's overkill,
is it too
because
bulky?
we need to have.
we need to have one commissioner on each of
Yeah.
the 8, which would be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we need to give more time for the other people to speak.
Okay,
Okay.
so Commissioner Price is going to, Commissioner Green is doing affordable housing.
I'll take,
Public transportation is Theo,
and I'll do that one.
Brian.
I'll volunteer for that one.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Price. And then we have tourism, arts, and I'd be happy to be on that one.
Do that, Penny.
Yeah, because I'm,
I did that last year, so that's why I didn't pick it this year.
okay. Education, Commissioner Bedford, would that be something you would be interested in?
Sure.
Okay, and do we want to reach out to the superintendents to be on that? How do we feel about that, folks?
We left that one blank, so y'all could,
Oh.
we didn't want to.
Commissioner McKee shaking his head, yeah?
I think you'd want the superintendents involved with
Yeah, and maybe
education.
the board chairs.
Board chairs?
I'm sorry, and the board chairs?
Board chairs?
Board chairs.
That'd
So why
give
don't we
you
reach
4.
out to both the superintendents of both board chairs?
Or their, designee.
Or designate, that's good. And then workforce development, Durham Tech, Orange High Schools Trade. Commissioner Markopoulos, is it something you're interested in? Or are you
I
thinking?
did that last year.
You did that last year,
I mean,
okay.
whatever, I'm fine with whatever you want to put me on.
Dorson needs something.
Dorson's going to be on 1.
He's calling your name, Mark.
Okay,
You want to do that one?
sure.
I would also suggest that we get one of the CTE teachers from Chapel Hill Carrboro schools as well.
Okay. That's a good suggestion. Economic development, we have Steve. Bill Ingram is back for that one.
I wouldn't mind doing that one.
Commissioner McKee. That's calling your name right there. Do we want anyone else on economic development?
Maybe be successful
Okay. And then the second segment is a small business services. Again, Steve is
Somebody from the Economic Development Commission.
from the commission. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe the chair of the Economic Development Commission. Very good idea. Let's reach out to Paige on that one.
Good.
Good job, yeah. Okay, small business services, so we have Stephen, I think Amanda's doing small business services now, so let's
That's
get
true.
her on there. Who did we leave out for, did all the commissioners get one?
Yeah, there's 8 slots.
There's an 8th slot, okay.
And we can work with economic development to find some small businesses to also to send
I
somebody.
think that would be good, someone that is actually taking
from
advantage of the loans.
Yeah, yeah.
You could pull one out of the business community and one out of the agricultural community.
That would be
both,
great, the good
because
idea of the agriculture, yeah.
2 different grant and 2 different loan programs.
Hillsborough Chamber?
Are
Well, if we
people,
invite Hillsborough, we got to invite,
Well, you have the bankers, yeah.
I'm sorry?
You have several bankers who are on the loan committee too, who work in that field.
or somebody from the Piedmont Food Processing Center?
oh,
with
that's a good
product
idea
there.
That's a
also.
good one.
Yeah. And I'll pick up that last one if no one wants to be the commissioner on that one. I'm happy to do that. All
And
right.
it'll be good because we'll be wrapping it up too, so.
Yeah, that'd be good. So I'll be there for the number 1 and for the last one. I'll probably
Oh,
be here
you
all
are
day.
number 1, so.
No, she's
I'm
gonna
just
turn
doing
it
an
over.
intro.
Just intro. But Dorson does get that one.
Dorson's doing that one. Is that enough information right now?
That's perfect. And then if y'all come up with any other thoughts on panelists, just feel free to email them to Steve or to me, and we can.
Can you just send us an email tomorrow with everything that we said so we can take a look at that? Because it's hard to just do it on the fly and not kind of look at it.
we can
Thank
do
you,
that.
Todd.
All right,
That'd be great.
thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, folks, we are moving on to the consent agenda, and,
I hope not.
Nope, we've
oh, I'm sorry,
Quite yet.
I was trying to get there.
Good try.
I promise I'll be quick.
Travis, okay, it's B, we're accepting the guaranteed maximum price GMP for the Orange County Northern Campus. The board will consider voting to accept a guaranteed maximum price, $36,354,082, $82, as presented by Bordeaux Construction and the Development for the Orange County Northern Campus. And you all have a PowerPoint on that.
Thank you, Chair Rich. So I'll just go through the presentation quickly. I'll attempt to answer any questions you have. We also have Blair Bordeaux from Bordeaux Construction with us tonight if I fail to provide sufficient detail. So tonight we are at a phase in the process where we are accepting a guaranteed maximum price for the development of the Orange County Northern Campus. You'll see that over the summer, we finalized our construction drawings for each of the 3 facilities that Gary mentioned. Bordeaux conducted a detailed competitive bid process in August and presented us with a guaranteed maximum price just a week or so ago. We are expecting, if we stay on this schedule pending your approval tonight, that we'll have substantial completion of the entire campus in March of 2021 and then final completion by that May. Just a couple changes I wanted to note to the site plan. Because of cost and scheduling purposes, the staff team recommended a couple changes. One was to omit the West Hill connector and rather pursue that potentially as a phase 2 of the project. So you may remember this access road that comes in off of 70, flowing all the way back and connecting to West Hill Avenue. So that connection, and you'll see that there's a stream crossing there that would have required some additional permitting time. So for both cost and schedule reasons, that's been omitted from the current plan. The other change is, of course, the the land swap with our neighbor to straighten the eastern property line. That is on the consent agenda to finalize that. Admittedly, that took a lot longer than any of the parties wished it to, but it has finally come to fruition tonight. And then we will also recombine all of the parcels on the property so that the campus itself is a single parcel. You all remember what the facilities look like. The detention center, almost 49,000 square feet. The budget does accommodate the enhanced sustainability features that we talked about during the budget revision process. So that's solar PV, energy, and then a geothermal HVAC system, still at 144 beds, and then 3 options for visitation, and then improved medical and attorney-client consultation rooms, multi-purpose rooms that do not exist today, and then, of course, the magistrate's office would also relocate to the detention property. The Northern Campus Environment and Ag Center, so this is affectionately referred to as the EAC, currently planned at 17,200 square feet. That's smaller, actually, by about 2,000 square feet than the current facility. The departments that will be housed there are listed. We will have also 2 key sustainability features: solar panels on the roof for energy and for hot water, and then a large meeting space that'll seat about 130 people if you do like classroom style seating. And then the park's operations base, perhaps the most utilitarian component of the campus, 8,500 square feet, just a couple offices for the park's administration staff, a shop in which they do all sorts of small equipment repair and some woodworking. They put together picnic tables and whatnot. This will also have a PV array on it. And then behind this, you'll see in this rendering, behind it is a large yard space with secure storage that doesn't exist in any of our facilities in any formal way today. So that'll be a sort of improved security feature for our large and expensive equipment. So as I mentioned, in August, Bordeaux went through our bidding process. So prior to August, several months prior to August, they solicited interest from 850 firms. There were 36 different bid packages. Of those bid packages, 19 of them were sort of reduced barriers, so reduced pre-qualifications and reduced bonding requirements to encourage the participation of small and minority-owned businesses. That resulted in 21% of all of the anticipated contracts, or the cost of work, being contracted to minority-owned businesses. The state goal for public projects is 10%, so we more than doubled the state goal. And then also through that process, post-bidding, Bordeaux led us through a value engineering process so that we could reduce some of the elements of the project and reduce the overall cost by about $466,000. So the guaranteed maximum price that's before us this evening, it's made up of several elements. One of the real benefits of using this project delivery method is Bordeaux has shared every bid. We were at the bid opening. We know exactly what each of the subcontractor bids is. We know what Bordeaux is anticipating for allowances for subcontractors, for their own allowances for some facilities that will be on the site during construction. And so all of that stuff is sort of open. It's open book. We see it. We see the billing as it occurs. So it's a very transparent way to deliver the project. So all of these elements listed on this slide result in a total guaranteed maximum price of just over $36 million. So in addition to that guaranteed maximum price, we have other, of course, project elements, some of which have already been spent and some which will be incurred in the future. And so if we add all of those together, so you've got our acquisition costs that we've already incurred, we've got the new guaranteed maximum price, we've got a budget for furniture and equipment in the facilities, owner contingency, and then the professional fees, or those fees that are paid to the architects who have designed the facilities. We're at about $41.4 million. So that would really be, you know, if all of our if all of the contingencies and allowances were spent and exhausted completely, we would be over budget by about $1.2 million. But like I said, that would be if all of the allowances and all of the contingencies were fully exhausted. Here we've just modeled a scenario, and we're still very, very early in the process. So we've modeled a scenario here where we would be with just 25% reductions in some allowances and only spending about half of our overall contingencies, we would be right at budget. So at this point, with some careful management and maybe a little good luck, we will be right on the budgeted amount. And then if you put that sort of simulated cost controls onto our total budget, you see we can get there with about $190,000 left at the end, assuming, of course, everything is carefully managed and we have a little good luck. So we've been presented with two separate GMPs. We'll accept both of them tonight. So the first GMP, they're split for basically a timing reason. So the first GMP is about $10 million. Gary referenced it in the financing package. So we've got 10.6 in the financing package. 10 of that will be for this first GMP. So as you know, there's a bunch of site work that needs to occur that gets more difficult to do and runs into more complications the further we get into the late fall and winter. So we'd like to issue a notice to proceed pending the board's approval early next week. Gary and our financing team then goes to the local government commission for financing approval on October 1st, and then following that approval from the local government commission on that first package, we would issue a notice to proceed for the balance of the project at about $26.3 million, and then finance those costs as our cash flow needs would dictate. So this evening, there are three actions that we're recommending. The first is to make a finding that the construction manager at risk project delivery model is in the best interest of the project. The second would be to accept the guaranteed maximum price of $36,354,082. And then third would be to authorize the manager to approve change orders up to the budgeted amount. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Travis. Sorry to try to pass you up, but we got it now. I know.
It's not, I don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally. Questions for Travis?
Just a comment.
Commissioner Green, yeah,
Travis, I want to commend you and the team for 21% contracted to minority-owned businesses. That's good.
Yeah, Bordeaux did some significant outreach, so
Great.
that's a testament to their efforts.
Excellent.
You need to come up and, you need to come and speak in
And you
the.
waited so long, come on.
Thank you.
Be on TV.
Hey, Blair Bordeaux, pleasure to be up here. I would add, that's just the initial percentages, so I think that they're very likely to go up. So for instance, electrical was still working, so I think it's very reasonable to think that we could probably get 25%, so, or maybe higher. So we'll keep working at it. That's just an initial percentage.
Right, thank you.
Great. thank you for sticking with us through the meeting as well. Yeah. Commissioner Price? Yeah.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank you on the, that percentage. Because a lot of times it's women and minorities, and, the numbers get diluted. Anyway, but thank you. I just had a couple questions on the revised site plan. So now we're not going to have any entry on West Hill Avenue. Is the sheriff okay with just one way in and out?
Yeah,
Okay.
as the site was originally designed, the West Hill connector was added sort of through
Yeah.
discussions about, what would be the best possible project, but we've consulted with the sheriff,
And-
he
okay.
accepts this.
All right. And then on the page 7, where you've got the rendering of the EAC, it says on here alternate 2 and alternate 3. Does that have anything to do with the budget?
No, so those were, well, it does. They were alternates that were presented as part of the bidding package. It was just notations on this
Okay, it doesn't mean anything.
particular rendering. Do we accept those? Those weren't accepted, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. All right. And then just one other thing. So this, let me see. So this will go into effect tonight. No, I'm sorry, in October, but you want to start construction in September, or site preparation.
Yes.
So that 10 million will be kind of paid back? Is that how it works?
Right, so once
Okay.
we'll expend a little money once we get the financing approved and the bonds sold. We'll reimburse the general fund for those costs.
Okay. Thank you.
And I should note, we also owe the community a informational meeting, and so that will be, Blair and I are coordinating schedules, but that'll be sometime later next week, probably at the Link Building.
Additional questions? Okay, Travis read off all the 3 steps that we have to take. Can we vote on these all together?
I don't think they need to be
It's okay.
enumerated.
Yeah.
I'll move all 3.
I'll second all 3.
Okay, Markopoulos and Price, all those in favor? Aye. Against? Okay, thank you. So we're on our way. Pretty exciting.
Onward and upward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we do not have any reports, and we have the consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull anything? Okay, and so I need approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Price and Bedford, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? Okay. Let me catch up. Okay, county managers report.
Thank you, Madam Chair and County Commissioners. This evening, I would like to just say we spent the summer with a number of recruitments. We, as you know, earlier tonight, you appointed the tax administrator. Also, we have filled the position of the housing director, and you'll be meeting her probably the first meeting in October. But tonight, I'd like to introduce our new AMS director, Asset Management Services Director, and I'd like him to come forward and just say a few things. And this is Mr. Steve Arndt, and we're very excited about him coming forward and helping us through a lot of the challenges that we currently have. Thanks, Steve.
Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm really excited to be here. This was an interesting experience, this first commission meeting, and I look forward to attending many more in the future and learning more about Orange County government and how things are done. I'm looking forward to this, this project, the Northern Campus. That's very exciting. I've spent my entire career in facilities management and been involved with sustainability, and this project is just really exciting for me, and I'm excited to be involved in working on it.
Great.
So.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome. can you fix the sink in the bathroom back there? Thank you. Sprays water all over the place, just saying, okay.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. County Attorney's report.
You haven't been getting many legislative reports from me because the legislature is having quite a few committee meetings, but they aren't doing a lot as far as passing things. They are passing some piecemeal budget items since the governor vetoed the budget. But there are still some regulatory reform and the Farm Act laws or bills that are still potentially going to have impacts on local government. So I will keep you apprised of that.
Thank you. Okay, we have one appointment tonight, I believe. Yeah. So this is, we spoke about this before our break. This is for the Orange County Climate Council appointment. And you can see we have a list of the committee's starting to come around. And you can see the green folks, the people's name in green have been appointed already. And so what we are doing tonight is we're considering making our at-large appointment. And we have Commissioner Mark Markopoulos representing us on that board. So we need a motion by someone?
I'd like to make a
Or
nomination.
nomination, rather, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a nomination. First, I want to say we have just a really good handful of very qualified people, and I hope we can find a way to get them all, keep them all engaged. But I'd like to nominate Jonas Monas because I think he would just do an excellent job.
Okay,
Second.
Second?
yep.
Second.
Second. Any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor of Mr. Monas, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, that's great, so he will.
Y'all check out what a stellar choice he is.
Yeah, I'm
This was a robust
I'm
group.
just amazed at the
Pretty
folks
amazing
on
that
this
he's
list.
getting
I
good.
think it's great.
Yeah.
I agree with Commissioner Green. I would love to find a way to get every person on here involved.
We'll just have to, that'll be our challenge, right?
Yeah.
Find, these people are stepped up, they want to be involved, and we
Right.
should make sure we stay connected.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
You want a real brief report on the roster filling in?
Yeah,
I'll do it
sure.
really
Do you want to
fast.
do that quickly?
So it's coming together pretty good. I went to the Northern Orange NAACP meeting a couple weeks ago and talked to them about it, and they're looking to fill those slots. I've been in contact with the Orange County School Board, and they're working on it. I haven't heard back from the Chapel of Carborough School Board. I've been in touch with them. Hillsborough is on it, and Carborough is also working to try and get their at-large position done by the September 24th meeting. So we've got, 3 weeks or so before the first meeting. So we'll have and I got to get up with.
What about UNC? Have you reached out to them? Has anyone reached out?
I have. I've been talking to some people.
Okay.
They have. They're going to have a new sustainability
Right.
director.
Brad is
So
gone.
Brad Ives was originally on there. He's going to be around. I don't understand. He's going to be here for a while, but yet he came off this list. At any rate, I've been talking to some people who are connected to the student environmental groups on campus. So I'll keep on pushing there.
Awesome. Thank you. Information items, everybody has those. They can read up on that. We have already done our closed session, so we need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And second, okay, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.